Hello and welcome to yet another video. This is the fourth episode of the story in which instead of being a simple orphan or the child of random civilians, Namikaze Minato was born as Senju Minato, a member of the Senju clan and grandson of the Second Hokage, Senju Tobirama. See what happens when Naruto grows up and inherits the clan with 1,000 skills. Please like and subscribe to show your support. Let's get the show started. So, Kyubi, what's your real name? Naruto asked within his mind, as he walked slowly towards the Naka bridge where his team meetings were designated to be. The week since the team has returned from the wave, passed, and returned to their regular duties should commence today. Sulking and beating yourself won't do any good. The life goes on. Not telling. The fox answered. As he walked through the bustling streets of Konoha, some people ignored him, some gave him side remarks, while few even greeted them. Doing those tenacious drank missions have finally paid off. He thought with a smile. Is it Akane by any chance? Fuck you. The Kyubi growled within his cage. So you really won't tell me your name? No. We may have an agreement, but nothing more, human. As you wish. A step by step. Naruto told himself. It did not take him long to reach the Naka bridge. Sasuke was there first, as usual. Morning. He greeted him. He hasn't seen either Sasuke or Sakura for the entire week. Good morning. Sasuke nodded to him. Naruto raised his eyebrow at this new development. No usual grunt. He decided not to poke the bear. They stood there at comfortable silence, opposite of each other as both of them leaned to the railings of the bridge, with only the sounds of river floating filling the air waiting for the last two members to arrive. Do you think Sakura will give up in the end? Sasuke asked. A rather uncharacteristic question that came from him. Probably. It's better if she joins the hospital. It would be better if she does. At least they were on the same coin. But a coin of a different value. Do you think she's afraid of that? It was a bit strange seeing Sasuke this curious and talkative. Both at the same time, even more so. It was pretty obvious she was. Naruto shrugged it off. Not everyone can stand still and normal in the presence of the chakra Biju emanates. And not everyone can stomach the spectacle we saw in the wave. Sasuke nodded. It's kind of complimenting that you can. Back to making a cordial relationship with his team. Or the remnant of it. I've seen worse. Was the reply from the Uchiha. Of course he did. What about you? I've done worse. Naruto said, with little to no emotion in his voice. Only a relived expression. Like he wanted to get it off his chest. The second wrong did not make the first one right, but one bad could outweigh the other one, if worse. Making it all easier. Such is the circle of stress. Sasuke nodded. Seemingly understanding what he meant by that. If Sakura leaves. Sasuke began once again, after a short moment of silence. Who will take her place? A good question. But the only answer he could give was a simple speculation. An older genin, who also lost his team, most likely. Sasuke grunted. Are you happy? Naruto asked him. It does not matter as long as she does not hold me back along the way. Naruto rolled his eyes at his reply. Would it kill him to not be arrogant for once? Probably. Sakura did not hold you back either. The words escaped his mouth. A moment he would think that Sasuke would open up more and the next he would splash over those notions like an avalanche of snow from the mountain. She was an annoying fangirl. Plenty of time, yes. If she decided to quit it would be better, both for her, and for us. Sasuke stared at him. Sasuke's reasons puzzled Naruto. Was Sakura a fangirl? Yes. But she was capable in her own right. You are being too hard on her, Sasuke. Naruto stared back. Possibly, for the first time, Naruto saw smiling in a teasing way. Why are you so defensive of her? Could it be that you like her? Naruto raised his eyebrow, wondering where this deduction came from. Crossing his arms and smiling a little, he answered. I would never steal your base of worship, no need to worry about that. A light scowl escaped Sasuke, as he cast his eyes on the base of the bridge. Fangirls are the most annoying kind there is, you can have them if you want. He only said. Why? Why what? Why did it always annoy you so much? He never had fangirls, despite being from a prestigious and noble clan, just as Sasuke was for obvious reasons of course. So this animosity towards them was foreign to him. A pang of jealousy struck him for a moment. Perhaps that was a longing for a female affection he never had. Sasuke's black hair fell over his eyes as he spoke the following. You don't know how annoying it is when people pity you all the time. When they see nothing but an orphaned second son whose mad brother butchered his clan. When all they seek from you is the way on how they could exploit your status for their own benefit. Naruto said nothing as Sasuke talked. He only gave a curt nod, after which the last Uchiha continued speaking. I'm not an idiot, Naruto. I know how they look at me. I know how many of them looked at my clan from time to time. His eyes, now revealed, hardened in glare he sent towards the ground. I do know. You do. Neither a question, nor an answer. I do. Many villagers only see the Kyuubi when they look at me. The adults at least. Naruto said. Hn. You're as lucky as me. Sasuke said, sarcastically. Wait until they find out about your identity. And who knows? Maybe some of those annoying fangirls will finally leave me alone. Oh, no. Naruto grinned mischievously. As I said, I have no intention of taking over your following. Hn. Sasuke scoffed. Did they ever follow you home? Naruto asked, making the conversation. Luckily, they did not. Sasuke said, with a faraway look. I think they were smart enough not to push it that far. Naruto gave a slow nod, proceeding to sit down on the bridge. Well. You'll have to restart your clan one day just like me. So choosing one of them could bring some ease on your shoulders. Once again, Sasuke scoffed. As if any of them are worthy of giving birth to the Uchihas. Naruto laughed at his response. So you did consider them briefly. What about you? Sasuke asked, ignoring his amusement, but there was a smile on his face. Have you considered who will be the future matriarch of the Senju clan? Nope, Naruto replied. He did imagine his future family one day. But never the wife. In his dreams, and his imaginations, his children all looked like him. Blonde hair, and sea-blue eyes. Nope. That is optional. He shrugged it off. A piece of advice, Sasuke. Avoid marrying a member of any other clan from Konoha. If you want to restart your clan, take an ordinary woman, even a kunoichi, but avoid clans. Why? He had his full attention. Naruto sighed. They'll have a large influence in your clan in the future, and it can badly reflect on the culture of your future generations. Just that? Sasuke seemed unconvinced. Just that. As he should. Others should not have power or influence over your family. Hn. Sasuke gave his usual grunt. The same should go to you too, I guess. It should. Naruto gave a slight nod. The reasons were very different. Try picking mushrooms around your own fields. But it was not possible. For either him, or for Sasuke. For that reason, both of them should be careful. Seeing as Kakashi-sensei and Sakura are late, do you want to train with me? HN. Back to usual grunts. And possibly a goodbye to the lengthy conversations with the last member of his rival clan. Explosion. The smoke gas erupted from the seal traps where Sasuke landed. He landed right into his trap, but in the end, he managed to jump away quickly before he inhaled any of the smoke. Even if he did, it would only knock him up for half an hour or so. This was nothing but a simple spar after all. I should have known you'd use that sort of trick, Sasuke said as he jumped over towards one of the trees. Naruto, who appeared on the branch of another tree, smirked. Well, we're not supposed to use lethal strikes, so I'm pretty much handicapped. Let's move to ninjutsu, Sasuke said as he activated his Sharingan. I know what you're planning, but it won't work on me, Sasuke. The seal he placed on him would prevent any Sharingan user from copying his techniques. 1. The Uchiha ignored him as he sends few shurikens towards him, igniting them into fire at a fast rate. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu. The shurikens Sasuke had sent towards him ignited into fire, making them more dangerous than usual. Not wasting any time, Naruto focused on the moisture in the nature surrounding him, adding to the water coming out of his mouth, exclaiming the water technique that was coming at him at a fast rate, water style, Water Bullet Jutsu. A large cannonball of water came out of his mouth, stopping the fire shurikens that came at him a mere half a meter from where he stood, creating a minor vapor of water at its place. As the ball of water crashed with the Sasuke's attacks, Naruto quickly went for another sequence of hand seals, sensing the Uchiha's movements. In the meantime, Sasuke did not wait a second further as Naruto prepared his defense. As soon as he had sent the volley of shurikens ignited by fire, he jumped above him and sent another volley of shurikens towards his teammate. Naruto easily dodged them, but did not notice the ninja wire that was connected to them flying around him and tying him up. Sasuke appeared behind him with kunai in his hand, placed under Naruto's chin. He smirked, saying, "I." But his words were cut short as he felt a kunai touching his neck. Lose. Naruto finished, as they both stood at that large branch of a tree. Sasuke turned his head around, slowly, seeing the smirking face of his blonde teammate. A shadow clone. He realized. You made a shadow clone while the space around you was covered in water vapor, is that right? You catch on quick. Both of them pulled back their kunais and the shadow clone that Sasuke thought was the real deal dispelled. Here. Naruto said to Sasuke, handing him a bottle of water to drink. Thanks. He took the bottle and drank it up. Why couldn't I copy anything from you? A smirk crept on Naruto's face. Don't expect me to tell you that. Sasuke frowned at that, but let the matter go. Something Naruto was thankful for. Well. A new voice emerged from the trees. It was Kakashi. I'm glad to see you two doing something productive. He pointed around to the mess of the leaves and tree branches that were spread around. Naruto smiled, while Sasuke stayed silent. Sakura is not here. Naruto said, noticing that their sensei was alone, and no trace of Sakura's chakra nearby. No. Answered Kakashi. I just came back from the hospital, the reason I was late. Sakura did decide to become a medic nin. I guess the Hokage-sama's words convinced her to go the other way. He said with slight bitterness. Naruto guessed that Kakashi did not want for Sakura to be manipulated like she was. Even if he was her sensei, he couldn't go against the Hokage's wishes and tell Sakura the truth, that she should just give up if she was not up to it. Naruto sided with the old man on this one. Especially given the new revelations from the last week. So who's going to be our new member? Sasuke asked, not looking at either of them, but at the view in front of him. Kakashi placed his hands into his pocket, shrugged off. Hokage-sama informed me that for the next week or two, it will be just the three of us. That is, only after that time, will our new team member be added to the team. Naruto nodded and Sasuke grunted. Seeing as you two already sparred a bit, he began. How about we go and see if there's some crank mission to be reserved, before another training regime? Sure. Naruto said, standing up, followed by Sasuke. If everything went as he planned, then this mission would be a good vacation trip as well. The current roster for the Team 7 entered the mission admonition room within the Hokage's tower. The Konoha elder, Mitokado Hamura, was the one in charge of handling the specific shinobi mission requests today. Seeing them enter the room, the elder greeted in a formal tone, his stern face in place. Team 7. The elder said. Hamura-sama. Kakashi said formally, not reading his book as usual. Koharu and Hamura were a bit more prudish than the old man regarding that. He placed it into his pouch. Probably to avoid bitching about disrespect from the higher-ups. Since you're here today. Hamura looked at Naruto strangely. There was a request for your team to do this mission, specifically. There was? The Hatake man asked, surprised. Who requested it? Namikaze Naruto. Sasuke and Kakashi looked at him with puzzled expressions. I requested it, and I wanted to participate in it. I can't go outside of the village otherwise. He simply stated. Hamura coughed. KHM. As I said, it was a request for your team to fulfill this mission. As strange as it sounds, you have a client here with you. So taking into consideration the extent of the mission and its parameters, it is officially classified as a ranked mission. Nothing less. And what is the mission about? Kakashi asked, now genuinely curious. Hamura handed him a scroll with details regarding the mission and its objectives. In here, you have the details of everything that needs to be accomplished. Kakashi looked at the contents of a letter and raised his eyebrow at his student. You sure didn't spare any money for this, that's for sure. He turned to the elder. We accept this mission, Hamura-sama. Very well, and good luck. The elders resumed writing something as he did before Team 7 came to the office. You too. Kakashi addressed his two genins. Seeing as this is your request Naruto, I believe that we should spend the rest of the day training and adjusting to this temporary placement before we embark on another mission. Understood, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said, while Sasuke only gave a grunt in reply. A day of training won't be a problem. At the training ground 7 now. What to do, what to do? Kakashi mused as he looked at his two students standing in front of him. He decided to brief Sasuke about the mission at hand, first. First things first regarding our mission for the next week. He caught Sasuke's attention, while Naruto listened in silence. Our mission is to retrieve anything that can be found within the Uzumaki temple on the outskirts of the village. It has been abandoned for many years now, as the last monk guarding it died shortly before you two were born. They both nodded. In any case, we are to retrieve any relic or object if it's still there. We don't know if any bandits or any other curious soul ever robbed the temple. So our task is to simply retrieve anything that can be salvaged there. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto interrupted. The mask temple is supposedly protected by seals as well. Only those who know the technique password can enter. 2. And how are we going to do that? Sasuke asked, curiosity apparent on his face. I know the password. At Sasuke's unimpressed look, Naruto continued. My mother was an Uzumaki, to be more precise she was from one of the lesser-known branches of the clan. Indeed. Confirmed Kakashi, nodding. Which brings me to the second part of the mission, and that is the trip to the ruins of the Uzushiogakure no Sato. So, Naruto. Could you explain what brought this on? I assumed that Kushina-sama has already anything from Uzushio that could be saved. Not that there was much to be taken. She has collected a few scrolls that remained. But for the most part, Uzumaki women who killed themselves near the end, destroyed the knowledge that could have been taken by the enemy. Better dead than in the enemy hands. Naruto was silent for a moment, narrowing his eyes as he spoke the following. You said, back in the wave, that Zabuza and Gato hid on the island while they waited for us to leave. I wish to see the homeland of my mother. And I know for a fact that she has never taken anything from the temple. There was nothing she could find in Uzushio either. Kakashi stood there in silence. Very well then. You paid for this mission anyway. And I think it would be a nice trip for both of you. Now, what to do about your training? Kakashi mused. As Sakura is no longer part of our team, I'm canceling the teamwork exercises for the time being. We'll be only focusing on the physical aspect. Naruto could see a slight upward movement of Sasuke's lips for a mere moment. Sensei. Naruto interjected and Kakashi nodded for him to speak. I was thinking of exploring the combination of my elements. This was something he wanted to do for a long time. Maybe this was a perfect opportunity to start that training. A combination, you say? HMPF. He grunted. In theory, the person who has two affinities has the potential to combine the two elements into a new one. And you want to explore that. I see. Well. I'm afraid I can't be of much help there. I would suggest searching for something within the village's library. Kakashi advised. Naruto nodded. While his own library had an extensive number of knowledge and books that couldn't be available to the public, the Konoha library could also have some new information that could help him. I'll see you tomorrow then. 7 a.m. Don't forget your gear. Kakashi-sensei said cheerfully. When Naruto left, Kakashi addressed Sasuke. So. What am I going to do with you? Lighting affinity or the Sharingan? Sasuke smirked. As if you needed to ask. He flared his Sharingan as it was the most magnificent thing in the world. Kakashi sighed. Naruto decided to walk towards the library, thinking of his potential bloodline mutation on the way. Wind and water gave ice. A notion that made him scowl lowly as he walked through the bustling streets of the village. The last thing he wanted was to have something in common with that Yuki bastard from Kirigakure. Ignoring their affinities. Maybe there was another advanced element he could form. But which one exactly? It wasn't exactly prudent of him to learn an advanced nature transformation. But it was something that was unexplored. His wind and water elements were mastered to their fullest. The only thing he needed was a strong shinobi to test his abilities. No spar. A full-out fight. On the other hand, maybe he should ditch the idea of an advanced nature transformation and focus more on a space-time ninjutsu. He shook his head as he walked further. The Chunin exams are a good way to go semi-all-out. Naruto sighed. Maybe the paranoia of the Akatsuki was getting up to him, and his common sense. Certainly, he needed to know where he stood. Shinobi of his age group from other villages might prove themselves useful in that regard. Naruto did not think much of the fact he considered other human beings as tolls. Perhaps he should tone down with drinking everything his great-grandfather wrote. As he walked through the streets of Konoha, he heard a loud complaint from the restaurant he passed by. Asuma-sensei. Why do we have to stay for this long? And just for Choji to eat. It's been 2 hours already. Forehead is probably training right now with Sasuke-kun. And I won't let her surpass me. Who else if not Yamanaka Ino? Since she mentioned Choji, it means that Shikamaru would be there as well. He didn't see his friends only 2 times since the academy. A good opportunity to catch you and see how they were doing. Approaching the Yakiniku Q's window from where the sound came, Naruto was noticed by Shikamaru, who was staring at the clouds from by the opened window. Naruto? His bored face turned into a smile, which also made Naruto happy, returning the smile to his friend. "One and only," he said with a small smile. "Hey Naruto." Choji greeted him, swallowing another barbecue in the process. "Naruto?" Ino asked, leaning from the table towards the window to see him with her own eyes. "Want to join us, kid?" Asuma asked, extinguishing the cigarette he was smoking previously. "I'm good, Asuma-sensei," Naruto said, waving off his hand. "I was on my way to the library. I just stopped by to see your team. We haven't seen each other that much since the graduation." "Suit yourself," the man said with a smile. "Where are Forehead and Sasuke-kun?" Ino asked, noticing he was alone. "You haven't heard?" He thought that at least Ino would hear from Sakura since he did not. He should try to remedy that. So much for being a role model to someone. "Well, it's not my place to tell." Shikamaru narrowed his eyes at him in question, but did not say anything. Naruto simply furrowed his own eyebrows, upward signifying he would tell him some other time. Partially, at least. "What are you talking about? What happened to the forehead?" Ino asked again, confused before a realization came to her and she widened her eyes in horror. "Don't tell me." "No, she's alive. You don't need to worry about that," Naruto quickly assured her. "I didn't mean that," Ino quickly said with an angry expression, before her face turned sorrowful once again. "Don't tell me. Forehead won Sasuke-kun's heart?" Asuma and Choji did not hide their laugh, while Shikamaru massaged his temples. Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose. No. She did not. I don't think Sasuke even has those urges." "Good." Ino sighed in relief. "By the way, what really happened to Sakura?" she asked, dropping the usual nickname she reserved for his teammate. "She acted like a loudmouth goof most of the time, yes. But Ino could have her smart moments when she wanted." "You really haven't seen her in a long time, didn't you?" She nodded in negative. "Maybe it's better if she tells you herself." Wow, who are they?" one shinobi asked at another table, catching Naruto's attention with the tone of his question. A long line of murmurs erupted within the restaurant. "They look like Kumonins." One of them spat. "A woman." "I know that, but would you look at them?" he pointed out, almost clueless to the disdain from the snarling kunoichi who sat in front of him. Hearing their conversation, Naruto leaned back from the window of the restaurant, looking down the road and seeing a group of Konoha Jonins and Chunins escorting two women, towards the Hokage's tower most likely. They did not look like prisoners, in fact, they walked with sheer confidence. Looking at them, Naruto could see that both of them were very beautiful, in body as his eyes darted first to the large mounds of both women's front. Looking up, he saw that one of them was a light-skinned blonde, with shoulder-length hair and blue eyes, while the other had dark skin and silver hair tied in a bun, and emerald-green eyes. Both of them wore what he could guess it was, the standard uniform for kunoichis of their village. A revealing clothes and an exotic look. Difference between them adding more interest to the outsider's perspective. No wonder people are drooling around them. He would too, but the control of his own urges was a bit better than that of his fellow villagers. The busty blonde did not react at how many of the Konoha's men practically ogled at the two of them. Just an emotionless face, but her colleague obviously looked a bit uncomfortable if her furrowed eyebrows were any indication. "Whoa!" Choji exclaimed as he stopped eating, turning his attention to the outside and the two Kumo kunoichi that walked on the road. "Whoa, indeed." Asuma nodded in agreement, as he also stared at them. Ino, being the only female on the team, did not appreciate the drolling remarks from her two teammates. "Troublesome, here she goes again," Shikamaru muttered as he also turned his attention towards the foreign visitors. Although, he wore a mask of curiosity, not horniness. Would you two stop drooling like a bunch of perverts? Be more like Shikamaru and Naruto. She scolded them, a bit too loud. A bit too loud for the two Kyumo women to hear it, propelling the dark-skinned beauty to look towards the restaurant's window where Naruto stood looking straight into his eyes, causing a look of recognition to appear on her face. Does she know me? Naruto asked himself. He was pretty sure he never saw her. If he did, he would surely not forget. It would be hard to do it anyway. Naruto thought as the full view of her was integrated with his memory. The blonde one did not look anywhere but the road ahead of her emotionless face not cracking for a second. Naruto imagined she could put Danzo's route to shame with her facade. The silver-haired woman only for a mere second appeared taken back, before resuming to walk further, and soon after, they disappeared from Naruto's view. Naruto, Shikamaru said with a serious expression on his face. Was it just me, or did that woman look like she knows you from somewhere? No. I think so as well. But from where, though? He decided to find out. I'll see you guys later. I have something to do right now. He bid the Team 10 a goodbye, disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Oi. WH. Shikamaru called him off as Naruto disappeared right away. Troublesome. Never mind. He sat back to the table, resting his head on the palm of his hand. What was that all about? Ino asked. Beats me, Shikamaru muttered. Luckily for him, before Ino started complaining again for the lack of juicy gossip stories, Asuma motioned for his team to stand up, as the time for training has come. Finally, said the ever-impatient Ino. The Hokage's tower, so let me get this straight. Hiruzen said as he sat on a moderate-sized furniture. The two Kyumogakyur Kunoichis Mabui and Samui sat opposite of him. Both of them had indifferent expressions on their faces. Although, the blonde woman Samui had her eyes narrowed the entire time. Hiruzen mused that it was her usual face. He didn't know what her angry reaction was like. Your Raikage wants to have Kyumogakyur Genins participate in the upcoming Chunin selection exams, in order to improve relations between our villages? Improve a non-existent relationship between our villages. Sarutobi said with a raised eyebrow. Both of the girls nodded, with the Mabui being the one to answer it in words, in a formal tone and sweet voice. It is correct, Hokage-sama. The Raikage-sama wishes to remedy our past transgression against your village in hopes of pursuing a better future. The Raikage-sama believes that the Chunin selection exams are the perfect opportunity to do so. Sarutobi was not convinced, even if the two women in front of him held in such a manner that didn't allow much to draw anything else from them. He also believed that the peace talks between our villages were a good opportunity to try and take the Byakugan, wouldn't you agree? He was not going to be lenient towards them. These weren't the early years after Minato died. They recovered much of their strength that has been lost with his death. Physical interrogation was out of the question, it could cause a war. Hiruzen did not doubt that the proud Raikage would just sit idly and do nothing if his emissaries were harmed. One of them being his niece. It also told him something else with this arrangement. For a microsecond, when the attention of the woman was taken aback, he cast a look on their chests. The dark-skinned woman, Mabui, narrowed her eyes in a somewhat bitter reaction, looking downcast at the letter the Raikage has sent to him, her lips fused into a thin line, folded back into her mouth so none of her pink lipstick could be seen. Her colleague remained silent and emotionless as ever. Mabui spoke first, bowing slightly, and leaning on the table in front of them, allowing her meaty breasts to be let loose in her uniform. That is unfortunately true, Hokage-sama. But I would personally ask you to reconsider your decision. Sarutobi raised his eyebrow at her declaration. Doubtful that a pair of pretty breasts would sway him. He didn't become the Sandaime Hokage because of nepotism, despite what Danzo would talk behind his back, when he appointed Minato as the Yondaime Hokage. If any of the Kumogakure's team get to the finals, the Raikage-sama expressed his wish come in person to watch as well as to apologize for his past mistakes. Bullshit. He did not use that word many times, ever since his genin days. Tobirama Sensei instilled a noble behavior into his students. Tried. No lowlife words were permitted in his presence, at least. But he couldn't help but describe the girl's excuse as such. The unruly was not someone to apologize lightly or apologize at all. He was too proud and wroth for something like that. Hiruzen looked at the message from the Raikage. It was probably written by someone else as well. Judging by the phrasing of the sentences, he concluded that it was probably by the woman in front of him, Mabui. It did not matter in any case. Mabui-san, Samwa-san. I'm afraid I will have to discuss this with the village council, first. Before I give you my final answer. He told them after thinking for some time. In the meantime, I'll have my secretary arrange for you to stay within the nearby ambassador's hotel, as it is fitting for someone of your station. Thank you, Hokage-sama. Both women said in unison, standing up and bowing slightly as they did again, giving him a nice view of their generous cleavage. It took the god of Shinobi a reminder of his entire career not to embarrass himself with his potential lecherous reaction. What would Jiraiya give to be in his position now? KHM. Right then. You may leave. I will inform you of our decision, once the one is made. As they left, Sarutobi addressed his ANBU hidden in the room. Crow. Summon the three elders as well as Jiraiya and Hyuga Hayashi here. Understood, Hokage-sama. One of his ANBU guards who materialized behind him said and went to fulfill his task. Hiruzen stared at the wall in front of him, his eyes narrowed in contemplation. What to do now? His rational side told him he should simply refuse the Raikage's request. On the other hand, his pragmatic side told him accept it. The exams, aside from being entertainment for masses, as well as a bait for the potential clients hiring the villages for their service, were also there to gouge out the strength of the other nations. If they ever participated in the same exams. Yet, Konoha did not have the same exams with Iwagakure, Kumogakure, and Kirigakure ever since the First Shinobi World War. He would use Danzo's spies within the other villages to gouge out their strength. The already established spies. Or he would use Jiraiya's spy network. Officially sending his own shinobi as cover agents was pointless. Despite the opposition to many of his policies over the years, Hiruzen knew that Danzo would do his duty. At least on the surface. And as long as it benefited him in addition to the village. His reforms for the past few years have calmed him down. Or it seemed like it did. His thoughts drifted onto the two emissaries the Raikage has sent. It was another thing that the impatient man wanted to use on him. Konoha shinobis certainly proud themselves in their family values. Most of the time. Hiruzen snorted at the thought on what the Raikage experimented by sending two women to persuade him. Hokage-sama. Voice of one of his ANBUs, woke him up, from his musings. Hiruzen turned towards the door where the ANBU member Hawk stood, calmly, waiting for his acknowledgement. He nodded, motioning for him to speak. Namikaze Minato is waiting outside and wishes to speak with you. Strange. Naruto should be on his mission by now. Bring him in. Hiruzen told her. He would find out what his surrogate grandson wanted, in any case. At the same time, outside of the Hokage's tower. Naruto stood at the top of one of the buildings near the Hokage's tower. He knew that Kumo emissaries were practically non-existent in Konoha. But that wasn't his source of interest. It was something else. Or better said, someone else. That silver-haired Kumo Kunoichi. Or better said, once again, her chakra. It was much larger than the average Kunoichi from Konoha had. It was on par with some of Jonins of Konoha. Dense and strong. Naruto knew that aside from some clans who naturally possessed the larger chakra reserves, including the women of those clans, they could still be counted on one hand. Senju and Uzumaki clan had those as well as a Kage, if a female one existed. Noon else. Noon but another Jinchuriki as well. He quickly added mentally. She could be a relative of another Kyomogakure's Jinchuriki, though. Or even a Kage. But even with that, the chakra of that woman was still far from being on the same par with his own. She was not a Jinchuriki. He sat on top of the building for the next 15 minutes waiting for the two women to finish their talk with the old man. The most puzzling thing about all this was the look that Kyomo Kunoichi had sent on his way, back on the streets. It was almost as if she knew him. Or better said, knew who he actually was. Not long after, Naruto saw two women walking outside of the tower, escorted by few Konoha shinobi towards the nearby hotel. Once he saw them enter the hotel, Naruto moved towards the tower. In front of the room, where he sensed the old man, the two Anbu stood, unmoving. Raccoon and Mouse. "May I speak with the Hokage-sama?" Naruto asked the two Anbus, formally. "Wait here." Mouse-masked Anbu answered short and simple as he entered the room. Naruto's visits to the Sandaime were quite common, and the guards within the tower knew that he was welcomed whenever he came. Half a minute later, the guard returned. "Hokage-sama will see you now." "Thank you," Naruto said as he entered the room. "Naruto-kun," Sarutobi said, smiling, as he motioned for him to sit, which Naruto did, moving to sit on the couch in front of the Hokage. "What can I do for you? I thought you would be out of the village by now." "Thanks, old man," Naruto said. "Kakashi-sensei, I thought we should get ready first, before we depart." Sarutobi folded his hands within his robes, raising an eyebrow as he asked the following. "I assume this little visit is having some larger purpose? Besides telling me that Kakashi is delaying your little trip? Nothing can get passed by you?" Smirked Naruto, but then turned serious. "There is something, or better said someone, a woman I'm interested in." Sarutobi coughed, interrupting him. "KHM. Well, you are in that age where members of the opposite gender pique your interest. Since you already mentioned it, we might as well have this conversation now, not that," snapped Naruto indignantly, earning a raised eyebrow from the Hokage as he slammed his mouth with his hand. "My apologies. So it's not a romantic interest?" Sarutobi asked, amused, fighting to suppress a laugh from escaping his mouth. "No," Naruto answered as he narrowed his eyes. "You just had a meeting with one of them." "The Kyomogakure's emissaries?" Sarutobi asked, with a tone of surprise. "Why do they interest you? It wouldn't be the first time for you to see a foreign shinobi, though I admit not the one from Kyomo. I saw them on the streets as they were walking towards the tower," Naruto said directly. "Many people turned their heads to see them, no surprise as their visits are not that common here." He snorted but again turned serious as Sarutobi listened in silence. "Anyhow, as they walked, one of them turned her head towards my direction." Sarutobi instantly frowned, at his following words. Which in turn, forced something akin to a look of recognition to appear on her face. Seeing the frown on the old Hokage deepen, Naruto decided to be the one to break the silence. "I assume you know something about this, right?" "Perhaps," Sarutobi muttered. "It should not be surprising that someone from the outside to recognize you, even if I did my best to hide your identity from being leaked out." Naruto did not say anything, waiting for the Sandaime to continue. "Which girl noticed you, by the way?" "The one with the silver-gray hair, and dark skin tone." Naruto answered, wondering about how much she actually knew about him. "Mabue-san? I wouldn't know her name," Naruto admitted. "She's the daughter of Kyomogakure's previous Jinchuriki of the Eight Tails," Sarutobi told him. She is? Hiruzen nodded. And that's why she has a slightly larger chakra reserves for a woman. Naruto mumbled and widened his eyes, as the realization came to him. Up until now, he did not know that the Jinchuriki parent could improve the chakra of his child. Increase the chakra as well. Hiruzen smiled. So you've noticed it. It was hard not to. Naruto replied in kind. He stored that information for later use. Indeed. Sarutobi commented, but turned serious right after. She might have seen your father in you, which caused her to remember something. I believe she is Kakashi's generation. It is not a faraway notion that she might have seen Minato in person. He said, lighting his pipe. But even if she did not, your father was famous enough. Even in Kumogakure. Perhaps. Naruto thought. People in the village did not seem to notice the resemblance he shared with his father. A few, perhaps did, but kept it to themselves. Why are they in the village anyway? Sarutobi exhaled smoke from his mouth. It seems that the Yondaime Raikage wants to remedy Kumogakure's past transgressions against our village, and has suggested that the genins of his village participate in the upcoming Chunin exams. But you don't believe that? Naruto concluded from the tone the Sandaime spoke with. Heh. Sarutobi snorted. For nearly 40 years I've been wearing this hat, my boy. I would be a fool if I did not even consider that option. But what, though? Naruto asked, sourly. He already had his theory with the latest development, but... Since you've told me that one of his emissaries recognized you, I believe you already know. Hiruzen said, as he handed him a letter from the Raikage. Go on and read it. And he did. While he did not know how Raikage acted personally, his father's journal suggested that the man was not the one for formalities of any kind. Sweet words of the letter betrayed his intentions, more than he wanted. There is a possibility that Kumogakure found out about you, ever since the wave. Naruto frowned at those words. But we must not discard the possibility of them finding out about through other means. Naruto nodded. So what are you going to do about them, then? How does the old saying goes? Sarutobi said, rhetorically. Keep your friends close and enemies closer. Naruto understood that, answering with a smile. And by accepting the Raikage's request, you are following that saying. A risky move, I must admit. A necessary risk. Sarutobi said, resolute. He probably wants to see our current strength, but in turn will see his as well. Proud and rash he is not stupid as many paint him out to be. He'll see our strength, and we'll see his. No doubt he's planning on sending his best as well. Kumogakure was always a bit too flamboyant compared to the others. That is, if we accept his proposal. I see. I suppose now, if we take into consideration that since that woman, Mabui, saw me, the information regarding me will reach the Raikage. Correct. Sarutobi confirmed. Whether he knew from before and just wanted to see it himself during the exams, or if his emissaries found out now, is not important. Your identity will come to the light anyway. We might as well give him a show to remember. Wouldn't you agree? Naruto grinned wildly at that. We might as well do. It's better if he sees with his own eyes my abilities, that is if he's doing all this for that purpose. Indeed so, my boy. Sarutobi smiled. Go on now, I have a council meeting soon, and you should be training with your team. We don't want to disappoint the Raikage now, do we? Of course not. Replied Naruto, as he stood up. See you some other time, old man. Stay safe, Naruto-kun. His surrogate grandfather wished him luck. The Ambassador Hotel Mabui exited the bathroom after a minor shower. A long, white towel was wrapped around her body with a minor one around her head. Sitting on the chair near the window, her friend Samui stared at nothing in particular on the outside. Neither of them said much, once they got to their room aside from her saying she would take a shower due to the long trip from their village. Given the place they were in, it was prudent of them not to reveal anything by accident. Standing in front of the mirror in the room they were staying, Mabui let go of the towel that revealed her generous chest and womanhood. But as she was dressing up, she couldn't help but think about something she saw today. Barely an hour ago, to be more precise. Naturally. Her and Samui's mission to Konoha was also followed by an optional task of finding out if the existence of Senju Naruto was correct, that is, if possible. And to her luck, she saw him not even 10 minutes within the walls of Konoha. If it was proven true, the Sandaime-sama had to be convinced to accept the request of Kumogakure's Genin's participation in the next Chunin exams. Mabui shook her head, placing her palm on her forehead. She doubted that the Sandaime-sama would fall so easily to her charms. Granted, seduction missions were never her specialty. Until now she was never given one. The biggest reason why she and Samui were sent on this mission, in place of another high-ranking shinobi of the village, was so that the Sandaime-sama could be persuaded to accept the request her uncle presented. Mabui stopped dressing, her breasts still revealed. She frowned as she looked at them in the mirror, her right hand moving to grope the right breast for a moment. Did the Raikage-sama really believe this would sway the god of shinobi, the professor? The aged Hokage did not seem fazed at all. Her thoughts drifted back to the Senju boy she saw on the streets. And with that, the potential paths the Raikage had in store for him if he was proven to be a threat. Mabui reminiscent all the meetings where the existence of the new Senju was discussed. The Raikage and the council were adamant and eager for the boy to be the real deal. She did not understand the reason for their behavior. For all intents and purposes, he could very well become a threat to their village. But the elders had their reasons, and she, as a kunoichi of the cloud, deemed them wise enough not to ram their village to the ground. Ignoring their previous blunders when it came to foreign shinobi. They should have learned their lesson by now. She continued massaging her breast, her eyes downcast in deep contemplation. There is no point in thinking about it now, Mabui. The voice of her friend woke her up from her musings. Mabui turned around to face her, but Samui was still looking through the window. You know what I'm thinking about. Better not be direct, just in case Konoha is eavesdropping on them. I do. Was the short reply. Do you think the Sandaime Hokage-sama will accept our request? Possibly. That's what she thought as well. Despite not acknowledging the seduction part, which probably failed. This was too good of an opportunity to pass for the Sandaime Hokage. Dealing with the council was just a mere formality most likely. I think so as well. Mabui said, completely dressing up now, and moving towards the window, looking at the village of Konoha. We are not allowed to leave for the duration of our stay. Not surprising. Samui added, lowly, but with a look of slight hate towards the village. Something that startled Mabui for a second. A crack in her usual facade was an uncommon thing. Mabui, being her best friend, was the one to see them for the most part. Still. It was always tense when it came to the light. Mabui's emerald green eyes darted onto Konoha once again. She knew very well why her friend hated this village, even if she rarely showed it, and never publicly at that. It does not matter in the long run anyway. Their duty was to accomplish their mission. Complaining about minor things was out of the question. Mabui only hoped they would not be meeting a representative of the Hyuga clan. For her friend's sake at least. Tomorrow, the Uzumaki clan's mask storage temple. The trip to the temple was short and uneventful. The temple itself was around 10 miles far from Konoha. After meeting Kakashi Sensei at the front gates at 8 a.m., an hour later than what the original plan was, they began their trip. Naturally, Kakashi had to check out if their gear was in place. Standard procedures and all. Well. I certainly did not expect it to be in this state. Kakashi commented, once they arrived at the temple. Yeah. Naruto said with a frown. It's as if the hurricane passed through this place. Sasuke said nothing as he looked silently at the surroundings of the temple. And it really did look like it was a victim of a natural catastrophe. The roofs were damaged and the front gates were breached. The right side of the building looked like it was about to collapse as well. Let's go inside, Kakashi said. The temple's interior was no different than the exterior. It looks like some people used this temple as a place to stay. Some wooden palisades from the outside were found on the inside, just under the hole on the roof. Naruto picked a remnant of the wood which laid on the ground. It was burnt from one side. Desecration of the religious building disgusted him. Desecration of the one that belonged to his mother's clan even more. There's no point in being angry about the past now. Kakashi placed his hand on his shoulder. We still need to see if there's anything that can be salvaged from this place. Yes, sensei. He placed the wood on the ground. One day this place would be rebuilt as well. For now, evacuation. Here. They heard Sasuke call them. He pointed on the stone wall by the edge of the room. At the top of the stone wall, a symbol of the Uzumaki clan was drawn, with a line of formulas up and down from all sides. Let's see if something remained. Shinigami masks are supposed to be stored in there. Kakashi and Sasuke stood behind him, their hands in their pockets looking at what Naruto was about to do next. Snake Dragon Horse Ram. He went through a few hand seals, placing his fingers in the middle of the clan's symbol on the stone. The symbol lighted itself and moved leftwards, opening a new path, almost something like that of a basement. Naruto moved down the hallway into the new room, with Sasuke meaning to follow him. That is, until Kakashi placed a hand on his shoulder stopping him. We're staying here, Sasuke. It's better if Naruto do this alone. He nodded towards him, and Naruto gave a quick acknowledgement in thanks. Sasuke was a bit disgruntled but relented anyway. Hallway itself was not spacey, but it was not tense or long either. It took him only a few steps to reach another room. A new room, one that was almost like the usual basement of any other house. At the front wall, dozens of different masks stood there hanging. Perfect. Naruto took 3 scrolls from his backpack, a red, blue, and yellow one. From what he knew of these masks, it was better if the balance of their placement was not disturbed. The previous monk probably moved the masks here by the end of his life. It did not take him long to do it, a half-hour at most. As soon as he finished, he decided to go back to Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke. The two of them stood near the entrance to the temple. Apparently chatting. A strange phenomenon, especially with Sasuke. He wasn't known as a talkative person, but their latest failed mission must have affected him in a different way than it did him and Sakura. Finished already? Kakashi asked him. Yeah. Naruto answered. There wasn't much in there anyway. Just a bunch of masks that were hanging on the wall. Better not say what they're all about with Sasuke here. Despite the cordial relationship between them, Naruto was always weary near the last Uchiha. It did not have anything to do with power, for he was far stronger than him. But with blood on the other hand. There was something in their blood. The theory that the Senju and the Uchiha clans descended from the legendary Sage of Six Paths aside something within Naruto told him it had nothing to do with that, but weariness on a more personal level. Something that went beyond the feud of their clans yet still connected with the blood of both. So what will you do with those masks? Now that you have them? Kakashi asked, with a bit of curiosity. I was thinking of building a temple within Konoha. He admitted. The Senju Park perhaps. But he was no architect. Perhaps he could hire Tiger to do the job for him? Or learn architecture and carpentry and do the work with his clones one day. In any case, he placed those ideas in the back of his mind. Kakashi stood in his thinking pose, his pointy finger on his mask-covered chin. That's alright I suppose, but how are you going to repopulate your clan if you're celibate? Dedicating yourself to guard a temple excludes having a family after all. Haha. Laugh all you want sensei. Naruto interjected, sarcastically. With the way you're going, my children will probably be older than yours. Found a better half already, have you? Kakashi said, still smiling, as they walked out of the temple. No. Naruto replied, as if the words ran from his mouth. By the way sensei. He got Kakashi's full attention. Why haven't you married by now? I figured as the last member of the Hatake clan, you'd be constantly pestered by the village council to get married? The last Hatake said nothing, only walking in front of Naruto and Sasuke who were behind him. I guess I got lost on the road of life. He only said in the end, moving further away from the temple, as the two boys stopped walking in his wake. What was that all about? Sasuke asked Naruto, a slight frown appeared on his face. I don't know. He admitted. Whatever troubled Kakashi-sensei was something that he did not know about. Thinking about it more, he actually did not know his dad's old student as much as he would like to. The more he talked to him, the more he thought he knew him, but in reality, he was even more mysterious. Let's go. Land of Fire, Northeastern Minor Port, a trip to the ruins of Uzumaki you say? HM. The local fisherman, named Yoshikata mused, rubbing his bearded chin as he did so. His son, Yusuke, a young man, a bit older than him and Sasuke, with shades of blonde and black hair stood there, staring at the three Konohanans, with a look of distrust and resentment. But otherwise said nothing. They had just arrived at the small port on the shores of the eastern lands of the Land of Fire, after 2 days of travel. Now, they were standing near the pier of the local fisherman's house. Have you gone insane? The fisherman exclaimed. A reply one might not have expected from the jolly man a moment before. Nope. Kakashi-sensei said happily, as if the request was the most common thing in the world. We would really appreciate it if you could take us there. We will pay of course. Kakashi turned to Naruto, inciting his head to take out the money. Fair enough. He requested the mission, and he'll pay. How much? I don't need your money boy, as I have no intention of going there. Yoshikata said, kindly. May we know why you're against it so much? Kakashi asked. The fisherman's mood turned sour. You name it. First of all, the Uzumaki Island is a den of bandits and pirates from what I know. That shouldn't be a problem for us. Kakashi interrupted. Naruto mused internally that it wouldn't be. If the said pirates had some missingnins with them on the other hand. Depending on their numbers it could pose trouble. Zabuza hid there with Gato. It is not out of the specter that more missingnins make their lair there. Albeit, the chances were slim from what he knew. Zabuza could have very well be an isolated case. Second is the transport itself. While yes, I do have a ship to transport you there. He turned to the moderate-sized boat. It could take them there. Better that than to go to another port. This is the closest route. The trip itself would end before it even began. Why? Naruto asked him. Surely not due to the ship. It looked perfectly able to take them there. Yoshikata turned to him, giving him a bitter smile, after which he turned towards the sea and pointed it with his finger. There's a sea monster that has been terrorizing these waters for the past 12 years or so. Nobody travels by the sea from here for that reason. That's why only fishermen remained in these parts. He told them, before continuing. That, and probably due to the insignificance of the port in the larger scale of things. Uzumaki is gone, while the port was close to the borders of the other nations. Too close. And too insignificant for trade. Damayadono and his court are not interested in this port anymore. It's too close to the borders of the rival nations. That's why most of the financing was sent to the new port, down the south. It has been a blessing and a curse. On one hand, the pirates avoid our shore here due to that monster, but I fear the village will die out eventually, as the people will move to other ports for more business. You can't live on fishing for eternity. I mean, you can, but the life grows dull as the time goes by, hee. He smiled bitterly in the end. But why didn't you consider moving away as well? Naruto asked him. Yashikata gave a sad smile in return. I was born here, my boy. Just like my father was, and his father before him. The man must sometimes visit their graves. Otherwise, they'll get lonely. Naruto's expression turned downcast. A stupid question he asked. Of course, sentimentality has a large role in convincing people to stay at their place of origin. Nothing could convince him to leave Konoha. Everything he has, and everything he does not have is there and was there. Kakashi listened to the old man's tale, after which he turned to his two students. What do you say? Up for a fishing lesson? The next day, ha ha ha. Never in years I thought it would be that easy. Yashikata exclaimed, laughing as he stood at the back of his boat, controlling the floating by the tiller. His son standing beside him, occasionally shooting minor glances towards the three Konoha shinobi, as he helped his father. We should have hired a shinobi years ago. I'm so going to brag to the boys back home about this, hee. Naruto, Sasuke, Kakashi commented nothing, as they sat in silence on the wooden benches on the quarterdeck. Sasuke was his usual self, while Kakashi read his book. They got rid of the monster for free. In turn, the fisherman took them to Uzushio for free as well. Fair deal. Naruto sat in silence as he stared intensely at the Fuma shuriken that laid on his lap. More specifically, the sealing formula on one of its edges. He knew very well what this formula actually was. It was a binding technique that the Uzumaki clan used in the past. They found it on the giant marlin's forehead, preventing the beast from returning to its summoning realm. Another thing that troubled him. Thinking about who could have left the summon for so long. One that once belonged to the Uzumaki clan, out there? Kakashi asked him, almost as if he was reading his thoughts. And who left the binding shuriken on the forehead of the said summon? Naruto added, a frown on his face in place. It was not hard to beat the summon. Although, summoning Gamabunta would bring more harm than good for this occasion. The easiest part was removing the seal-based Fuma shuriken from the Merling's head. After that, the beast returned to his realm. You do know what that means? Kakashi asked, looking slightly from his book, not expecting a negative reply from him. But instead of Naruto replying, the young boy, Yusuke, added his own 2 cents. It means that you shinobi have brought nothing but suffering to this land with your stupid and pointless wars. He snarled, propelling his father to admonish him for his words. Yusuke. No wars were stupid. You fought for the survival of your home. What were they going to do when Iwagakure or Kumogakure attacked them? Organize an orgy? It's okay, Yashikata-san. The boy has the right to be angry. Kakashi waved it off. Naruto did not think like him. The summon was there from the time after the Third War, and long after Uzushio was destroyed. Naruto whispered, to no one in particular, as the reminiscent of the previous day returned to his mind. Which meant something else. A hypothesis that he never thought up, until now, that is. The 2 members of the Uzumaki clan fought near this territory sometimes after the war, long after the destruction of Uzushio-gakure. Yet he did not know who they were, or from which branch of the clan either of them came from. His mother never mentioned any other survivors. Aside from the old monk at the mask storage temple Hananobo. Surely, if any other survived, they would come to Konoha to restart their clan. Yet none came. Today's encounter with the giant marlin changed everything. He knew for sure that 2 survivors were out there. One, or maybe even 2 were dead. And have fought one another. Another thing that bugged him was the reason for why would they fight one another in the first place. The Uzumaki clan, being a cadet branch of the Senjus, though separated long ago, kept the close ties throughout the ages, still embodied the family values of the clan. A notion of kinslaying was so Uchiha-like. Slowly, Naruto turned his head towards his teammate. Sasuke was looking onto the sea around him, looking uncertain of something. Won't the whirlpools prevent us from reaching the island? Sasuke asked. So that's what troubled him all this time. No. We're lucky that whirlpools aren't that common here around this part of the year. It'll take us around day and a half with my ship to get there. Yashikata said as he stood in the back. Northern and eastern side of the former country has the whirlpools for the entire year. South and west are generally safe from them. That's why Kyumo and Kiri managed to destroy it, in the end. Given the natural affinity of its shinobi towards the water, Kirigakure improvised the attack from the east, while Kyumogakure attacked from the west by the land of hot water. In the end, whirlpools on the east were not enough, and given the joint attack of the 2 of the Great Five, the village's defenses crumbled, leaving it destroyed in the days that followed. An incident that started the Third Great Ninja War. The deadliest one until that time. No alliance remained in place. The alliance of Kyumogakure and Kirigakures fell apart, and they began fighting as well. Without Uzushio's help, it was a miracle Konoha survived. Fighting on the 3 fronts against Iwa, Kyumo, and Kiri. Luck? No. The old man's leadership saved them. As well as the skill of their own shinobi. On the other hand, they were lucky that the other villages had their own, other fronts to fight. In any case, the more he saw of the outside world, the more questions popped inside his head. Hopefully, he would find something in the ruins of Uzushio-gakure regarding any surviving members of the clan. The ruins of Uzushio-gakure no Sato. And here we are. Uzushio-gakure no Sato. Yashikata said as they landed on the pier. Better said, what was left of it. Or better said, what's left of it. Good to know they're on the same page. I never thought it would be like this. Naruto muttered as he looked around the home of his mother. All the buildings collapsed or were about to collapse. Man. The last time I was here was probably at least 20 years ago or so. And how was the village back then? Kakashi asked him, as the group walked towards the center of the former village. In front of the statue of the 2 shinobi, one that represented the Senju clan, while the other one represented the Uzumaki clan. The 2 men were shaking hands, signifying kinship, and the alliance between the 2 families. Better than now, that's for sure. The man muttered, as he picked the Uzushio's headband protector and cleared the sand from it. My father took me once to this place. Back when it was still thriving. Our port had a good trade with them. What about you, Kakashi-san? Have you ever been here before? No. Kakashi said, shaking his head in negative. This is my first time coming here. I see. Why did you guys come to this place, by the way? Not much to be found in these ruins. Well. Kakashi looked at Naruto, looked at his back to be more precise. But indicated nothing else but, someone hired us to scavenge anything that can be found here. Headbands, artifacts, anything that remained here as the time went by. Naruto added as he looked at the statue in front of him. The statue as well? Sasuke asked, sarcastically, as he walked to stand beside him. Naruto smirked at him. The statue as well. Here. Sasuke said, as he gave one headband to Naruto. So what will you do with all of these? He looked around. Few headbands were laying on the ground, like children's toys that were left in every part of the room without a care for the world. Probably due to the tsunamis that are frequent around here. I'll place it within the future shrine, along with any other object that I find. The clan may be dead, but at least their memory can live on somewhere. The Senju Park had an abundance of space for such a memento to be built. All at the later date. Maybe I should do the same. Strange, he never took Sasuke as a sentimental person. But, given the fact he wanted to avenge the Uchiha clan, it was to be expected. The only thing Naruto did not know is how would Sasuke do that. It was a question he had asked him. I don't know. Sasuke answered, his eyes seeming distant. You already have the Naka shrine. Naruto said, looking at the statue in front of him, as the 4 shadow clones he made surrounded it, preparing to seal it. The only thing he got was a small nod. The statue disappeared in a smoke sealed within one scroll that Naruto brought with him. One of the clones approached, giving him the scroll, after which he disappeared along with the other 3. So, Naruto. Kakashi got his attention. How do you want to proceed with this mission? As you were the one to commission it in the first place, I believe you should be the one to decide the way we're doing it. True. He was the one. That was one of the reasons. He already had plans on how to do it. I will do it myself, sensei. No offense, but this is personal. He said in a monotone voice. By the looks of Kakashi, he did not seem perturbed by such a decision. In fact, it was almost as if he expected it. I see. Well, it's your decision in the end. Shadow clones can certainly help you in the long run. Naruto nodded, as Kakashi continued. Sasuke and I will train in the meantime. This time, Sasuke perked up hearing that. To each to his own business. I'll be going now. Kakashi gave a short nod, turning to Sasuke next. The 2 of us will make the camp for the duration of our stay here. Sasuke grunted, unpacking his backpack in the process. Yashikata-san. The fisherman who was silent for the most part listened up now. You said you wanted to fish for the time here? That's right. That won't be the problem with your mission, right? No, it won't be. Just don't stay too far away from the camp. We don't know if any other monster might be lurking around. Or even if some pirates and missingnins decide to land here. Fine with me. Come Yusuke, we have work to do. HN. It seems that Sasuke is not the only one who prefers the traditional Uchiha clan's grunt. Kakashi mused inwardly. In retrospect, the island looked like it was a victim of dozens of earthquakes, tsunamis, and wars all happening at once. Granted, the capital island of the Land of Eddies was a victim of a tsunami. The Uzushio was most likely given the same treatment. It made Naruto wonder if the Uzumakis protected the archipelago from natural disasters back in the day somehow. It doesn't matter now. Walking through the ruins, it made a depressing feeling to appear in his stomach, and his heart tightened as he looked around. It did not help that the sun has started to settle, with the sky being unusually red, with clouds black. Sky red, and cloud black. If one thought about it more, it could mean many things. The one thing he associated first with the current weather was the Akatsuki. Up until now, luckily, he did not have any clashes. Luckily. But the sky was different now. The clouds were black, whereas the Akatsuki's were red. A bad omen. Both signified similar, yet different things. According to the rumors, the red cloud of the Akatsuki represented a new dawn, a revolution they would bring upon the shinobi world. The black clouds are warning. On a red sky, they said that blood would be spilled for a viewer. Call him a superstitious person, but nothing in his life was without a reason. And bad weather. Maybe we really shouldn't sleep under the sky tonight. Naruto muttered as he looked above. A river he passed by reflected a red sky. Naruto sighed. Maybe nothing bad would happen, and the omen was a warning for someone else. Hopefully. But one should never remain complacent. Making a shadow clone sign, Naruto created at least 50 shadow clones before they dispersed to their jobs. 3 clones remained, proceeding to pick up the few headbands that laid freely on the ground around him. Walking further through the ruins of the village, Naruto came upon a large building, built in traditional architecture. Surprisingly, it was one of the buildings that looked better off than the others. Naruto pushed the entrance door of the building, causing it to fall flatly to the ground. Inside the building, he could see various artworks of the clan that hung on the walls. A museum? Maybe. Konoha did not have one, but Uzumaki was apparently more culture-minded than other shinobi settlements. Even more of a pity that it is dead now. He took another scroll from his backpack and started sealing a picture by picture. The pictures themselves showed Uzumaki in various periods of history, from the time the Uzumakis were founded as a clan, to the first 2 shinobi wars. When he got to the latest picture, one that stood behind the table, Naruto noticed a piece of paper that was tapped to its backside. This is getting more like a treasure hunt. He muttered out loud. Gently taking the paper he looked its contents. Well, what do you know? It was a detailed map of the elemental nations, but with various bases and estates across it, that once belonged to the Uzumaki clan. The mask storage temple near Konoha was also marked on the map. Naruto did not fight a satisfying grin that appeared on his face. He placed the map into his pouch, vowing to investigate all of these colonies one day. Maybe he would find more Uzumakis out there, and maybe even find out about the 2 members of the clan who fought each other. But all at the later date. He walked to the outside once the latest picture was sealed, deciding to go back to his team. But before he did, a clone that was gathering headbands near the easternmost hill dispelled, sending his memories to him. A particular memory that came to him were the 3 chakra signatures the clone sensed, which were located on the far eastern side of the village. For a moment, Naruto considered relaying this message to Kakashi-sensei. The clones that were around the camp would not say anything without his approval anyway. In the end, he opted to investigate this alone. On the far outskirts of the village. It's just a bunch of stupid and worthless masks. Who needs this shit? A shinobi with an Amigakure forehead protector and a mask complained. Quit complaining and search further. A woman with short and brown hair scolded. The only woman of the 3. The masked man addressed her. His aim, you can't possibly enjoy this treasure hunt. We should have joined up with Suien and help him search for hero water in Taki. He'd pay us well. Naruto did not know who Suien was, but he heard about hero water of Takigakure before. He stood hidden in the trees that surrounded another Uzumaki temple, listening, as the 3 shinobi continued talking to each other, unaware of his presence. I agree with Kirisame. The 3rd and the last member of the team said. He had spiky gray hair. And who knows? We may get a piece of that power for ourselves. You 2 are idiots if you believe Suien would share anything with you. His aim admonished them. Besides. A frown appeared on her face. Takigakure is too close to Amigakure. I want to be as far away from pain as possible. Another unknown and dangerous man that Naruto never heard of before. And judging from the flinch that escaped the other 2, he should not underestimate him either. That wretched bastard. Not even Hanzasama could beat him. The gray-haired shinobi said, looking at the ground with a bitter look. I still can't believe he managed to kill him of all people. This was new information to Naruto, for he, and everyone else in Konoha still believed that the legendary leader of the Hattori clan still ruled Amigakure. Was this Pain guy a new leader of that village? It was strange that no one had heard about it until now. Perhaps the old man knew but opted not to tell him. He certainly did not have a reason to do so. Despite their bond, Naruto was still a genin after all. Be lucky that we have never crossed his path, Murasame. I don't even know how he looks like, and I pray he doesn't know how we look like in turn. His aim said. So it was a good idea to ditch Kendachi. That guy is probably dead by now. Kirisame said, grinning in pride. Heh. I sure hope so. If he is, Pain might forget about the rest of us. So what do we do now? Murasame asked, holding one mask from the temple. If Kiri and Kumo deemed these masks worthy, they would have taken them by now. As would anyone else for that matter. Noon, but the pirates and occasional other Missingnans visit these islands. The former are too dumb to understand what these are, and the latter just want a temporary safe haven from Hunternans. TCH. We're lucky AIM does not have its own Hunternin divisions. Murasame added. So what should we do with them? Let's just gather them and sell them to some collector out there. If the Uzumakis thought they were precious enough to be granted a temple of their own, they must worth something. Kirisame said. Not to mention, my gut is telling me we should burn this place to the ground later. Glad I'm not the only one. Chuckled Murasame. Fine, let's just get it over with, his aim said, but she stopped saying anything once she saw a kunai embedded within Kirisame's eye. What the fuck? She managed to evade a kick from Naruto's knee in the last second, jumping back from the temple along with Murasame. What the fuck do you think you're doing, you fucking brat? Murasame shouted. Naruto heard enough of their conversation from the tree, and decided they weren't worth enough of staying alive. He swallowed the spit that gathered in his mouth, along with the knowledge of his first willing kill. He did not look at the body, he would leave that for later. Killing you, that's what I'm thinking of doing. He stood near the entrance to the temple, the dead body Kirisame behind him. The other two stood in front of the temple, around 10 meters away. As if. I'm not getting beaten by some blonde shrimp. Murasame, don't be so rash. The woman warned him, but he ignored her. Murasame jumped forward, engaging Naruto in taijutsu clash. He pulled a kunai from his pouch, attempting to stab Naruto once he got close enough, but his attempt was in vain, as Naruto sent a strong strike to his stomach, robbing him of the air. Quickly pulling a ninjato from behind his back, Naruto dismembered the Rouge Amigakure ninja with one precise hit. The woman looked shaken at the view she got. The two of her teammates were dead, barely within a minute. You won't beat me so easily, she said. Naruto doubted that. She was as dead as they were. She went through the few hand signs, exclaiming, water style, black rain jutsu. The black rain started falling from the sky. An oil. No matter. He quickly focused on the water vapor in the air and the trees, replacing himself with it, once the kunai with explosive tag, lighted the oil into the fire, which erupted at the place where she thought Naruto stood previously. Naruto appeared behind her. Water replacement. What? Naruto's ninjato was placed under her neck, as his aim whimpered. I give up. But please. Please don't kill me. That depends if you cooperate. He told her in a monotone voice. Naruto hoped his voice would not crack. He had a slight element of surprise to these three, even if they weren't particularly strong, to begin with. One should never let his guard down. I'll tell you everything you want. She swallowed once, as the sweat started dripping down her forehead. Who is Suein and what is he planning? The first question. No information should be discarded. The mission in Wave taught him much. It taught him he should not do a mission halfway, and should not trust every information he received. Suein is a high-ranking jonin of Takigakure. Then why are you, Rogue Menins, dealing with him? He brought the blade closer to her neck, its sharp edge touching her skin for a mere moment. WWEV known him from the Third War. He sent us a messenger recently where he asked us to join him in obtaining the hero water. That should not be surprising. Kusataki were known as the Three Sisters of the Shinobi world back in the First War. Just to be sure in further investigation, Naruto placed a chakra-suppressing seal on her back, activating it right away. Followed by an additional seal, just in case. What are you doing?" she asked, sensing her chakra being drained away. "Nothing that you should concern yourself with," Naruto said, still holding the blade in his other hand under her chin. "Now, who is this pain you three spoke of?" Naturally, just like her teammates before, she flinched in fear. It seems that this pain gives that vibe to others, once they hear his name from other mouths. "I don't really know," she said, quietly. "That's not good enough." He brought the blade closer to her skin once again. "I really don't know," she insisted. "I never saw him. I only heard rumors about his power." "What sort of power?" "Just that he is stronger than Hanzo-sama, who he apparently killed. At least that's what Kandachi told us, Hanzo-sama's right-hand man." Naruto listened to what she spoke. "Continue." She swallowed the spit in her mouth once more. Amagakura was embroidered into a civil war for a decent number of years after the Third War. It wasn't as bloody as the World War itself, but the occasional rebels appeared from time to time. It all escalated to a boiling level a year ago, when a man named Pain appeared, along with his right hand, the angel. An angel? It almost seemed like a religious cult of sorts, with the way she spoke of them. Yes. An angel. I saw her once, during the Civil War. She wore a crossed forehead protector of our village, but also a black robe with some strange red clouds on it. The red clouds? Now his voice cracked, as a sense of dread passed through his body. Yes, the red clouds. His aim answered, calmly, looking at the flames she had caused a few minutes ago. Naruto digested her words in silence, looking at the back of the woman he held hostage. The red clouds. Akatsuki. Noticing his silence, his aim raised her hand up, and pushed the blade from her neck, and Naruto's hand, attempting to flee. Her movements alerted him right away. The blade in his right hand might have dropped, but with quick reflexes, Naruto activated another seal on her back with his left hand, knocking her unconscious as the lighting shock flew through her body. His aim fell to the ground, unmoving, with only weak breath signifying she was alive. Naruto looked at her, but she was not on his mind. The information she gave him was. All of this would need to be examined, in a more detailed manner. If Akatsuki had a village behind them, it could cause much more problems to the shinobi world. Not to mention him. Perhaps they wanted to give each of their members a village of their own? Perhaps. "So you haven't found out who wants to pull me out from you?" the fox asked him, suddenly. "You've been silent for the past few days. What brought this up?" "It grows dull, being in this cage sometimes. I must compliment you for getting rid of those weaklings. You really have the heart of a killer. Save it, Kyubi. I'm not in the mood for your baits." The fact he just killed 2 people and feeling no remorse from it worried him. But he would be damned if the fox abused his emotions for something more sinister. "These weren't my first kills, anyway." The fox chuckled inside his cage. "But you did kill them. Yet you're acting all high and mighty when it comes to my nature." It was not the time to get philosophical with the fox. "Was there ever some sort of a cult that tried to capture you?" Naruto asked him, changing the subject. "No. The only group that tried, were those pesky lighting attackers, led by 2 twin bastards of your clan. Kinkaku and Ginkaku." Naruto knew the story of those 2 brothers. Made in lust, they were a product of intercourse between an unknown Senju man, and a woman from the land of lighting. They were also the ones who stole the treasured tools of the sage from his clan, taking them to Kumo, and helping with the formation of that village. As if I would know. The only thing I remember was that their chakra was similar to yours. Well. Those two are the only bastards of my clan who led a lighting-based shinobi, and tried to capture you at the same time. At least they died childless, so the power of the Senju would not be in the possession of another village. Were there more people who tried to capture you? Beside the Uchihas and the Shodai Hokage? Well. Yes, there were. But all of them tried to do it individually. No religious cult tried to do it. That's not saying much. Heh. These new ones are the most interesting, I admit. From the butcher of the Uchihas, to the unknown angel woman. I'm glad that a hunt for my life gives you so much satisfaction, Kyubi. Naruto dryly said. Worry not, human. With me, you'll be safe. He wanted to laugh at that, but he let it go. So what will you do with that woman? Kill her? Naruto looked at Rouge Amigakure Kunoichi that laid on the ground. Killing her would bring him nothing. I will take her as a prisoner. The village would interrogate her much better, and much more efficiently than he would. And hopefully, it would give Konoha more advantage to fight the Akatsuki if the information she provided proves to be true. As you wish. The fox did not complain about his decision. He took an emergency prisoner scroll he always had with him from his backpack, sealing her away. Before he returned to his team, Naruto noticed that the fire she ignited would not calm down anytime soon. And it could potentially destroy the temple and the forest before he salvaged anything from it. Before he extinguished the fire, he made sure that the other two bodies were destroyed before he left. Water style, giant waterfall jutsu. As the fire was extinguished, Naruto returned to the camp. While jumping from tree to tree, many of his clones dispelled, finishing their job in their sectors. With the way things were moving, everything would take much less time than an entire week. For the sake of the future interrogations, and his own curiosity, he'd convince Kakashi-sensei of teaching him the psycho-mind transmission technique. It was about time you've joined us, Naruto. Sasuke was worried that something might have happened to you, Kakashi said, as Naruto jumped near the bonfire that the rest of them made, and were currently sitting. The various headbands that his clones gathered were pilled up near them. Sasuke scowled at Kakashi's comment, who ignored it as he laid by the fire doing his favorite activity. Yeah, I was distracted, to say the least. Naruto said, choosing his words selectively. Distracted? Kakashi questioned, looking at him with his one visible eye. I ran into 3 missingnins from Amigakure. Now he got Kakashi's full attention, as the man rose up into a sitting position. And? Well. I beat them pretty easily. Naruto shrugged it off. Opting not to say much about findings of his interrogation, especially with 2 civilian transporters that sat near the fire, eating the fish they had caught for the evening. And I've captured one as well. I thought about giving her to the village to interrogate further. And? He questioned further. Naruto shook his head. It was not the place. I just sealed her away in a prisoner scroll. The old man will know what to do with her once we're back in the village. Good choice. Kakashi complimented as he stood up. It looks like it's gonna be a storm tonight. We better go inside. He motioned for the nearby building. Better safe than sorry. Safe is a generous word. If a tsunami or a storm hits them in the following days, the building they take shelter might crumble. Naruto was not worried for himself, or Kakashi and Sasuke for that matter. They would easily evade any damage. Yashikata and his son could die if they were left unchecked. God forbid if any other missingnins stumbles upon the island in the following days. Here you go, kid. Yashikata offered him a piece of fish that was grilled on a fire previously once they settled inside of the local building. Thank you, sir. No need to thank me, he said with a smile. The fish around this island is amazing. I haven't tasted it for a long time. And I doubt I'll taste it ever again. You better stock up the supplies of it then. Kakashi advised. I hear ya. Yashikata answered. So, kid. You found anything interesting on this island? He asked Naruto. Besides these 4 head protectors and a statue, of course. Plenty of interesting things, Yashikata-san. Good, good. It seems your trip wasn't for naught. Why'd you decided to come here anyway? No one said anything. My mother was from this island. Naruto eventually answered as he stared into the bonfire inside the building that Sasuke lighted up. The cracking sounds of the wood filled the occasional silence that filled the air around them. I just wanted to see where she lived at one point in her life. Seemingly, the old fisherman understood, and gave an understanding nod to him. Before he said anything else, his son, Yusuke, said something. I'm going to change myself. If you'll excuse me. He stood up and left the room. Once he left, Sasuke, curiously, asked a question. Is there any reason why your son looks like he wants to kill us in our sleep? Yashikata flinched for a second, before answering. His mother, my wife, Ayano, was killed by a shinobi when he was very young. The Konoha men frowned hearing that. Yashikata continued. Our village was attacked by a few bandits, led by a shinobi. None of us stood a chance, but my wife, being a hothead that she was, tried to resist. He said with a nostalgic smile, before his face turned into a sad frown. Yusuke started hating shinobi and anything that has any connections to your jobs. But you don't hate the shinobi? Naruto asked. At least he did not get any indication to even think that. If he did hate them, though. I might be getting rusty. He thought, as funny as that sounded in his head. I met enough people to differentiate good men from and evil men. Yashikata said, his frown morphing into a smile. And I can see that you 3 are good men, although, it wouldn't kill you to smile a bit more, ha ha ha. Despite the situation, all 3 of them smiled in return. Yusuke returned not long after, only bidding good night, better said, a good night to his father. Naruto did not blame him for doing that. He had a right to be angry. But no right to disrespect the shinobi and their own sacrifices. I'll be going to sleep as well, night guys. They returned the wishes. About an hour later, the rain started falling outside. The bonfire still burned as Naruto, Sasuke and Kakashi remained awake. It really looks like it is going to storm soon. Naruto commented. It really does. Kakashi said. Good thing we placed barrier seal around the building. Yeah, a good thing. The 3 of them walked outside as the rain poured from heaven. They stood beside the building as the balcony above the entrance door protected them from getting wet. Sensei. Naruto began, and Kakashi turned his head towards him. Why did you remain unmarried until now? He asked. The question circled around in his head for the past few days. Ever since his weird answer at the masked temple. Kakashi at first remained silent. After a minute or so he sighed and began. I guess. He better not mention the road of life. I'm the type of guy possessed by a curse of loneliness. Both Sasuke and Naruto looked at him incredulously, as he continued speaking. The closest people to me died. My teammates. My sensei and his wife. Naruto eyebrows fell down hearing that. My father. So you don't want to get close to anyone because you're afraid they'll die as well? Naruto looked at Sasuke. Those close to someone dying could help the other Uchiha awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan. Did Sasuke look at it that way? He knew that Kakashi had Sharingan, but not its next stage. Naruto realized, he was surrounded by people who suffer. From his closest ones in the village, to those he would meet along the way. Yashikata and his son. Tazuna and his family. He refused to believe that it was the result of the shinobi world. Evil men exist, regardless of their profession. Well, something like that. Or so I believed until a few years ago. He said, getting a bit more relaxed with each word. But some wounds take a longer time to heal. And I'm not sure if I'm mature enough for marriage. Or even children for that matter. I'll wait to see how you two turn out first. Sensei, are you a man going his own way? Naruto asked, smirking, attempting to lift the mood further. Kakashi Sensei did not look like that type of guy. But better check it first. No. But once you have a few conversations with either Anko or Kurenai, you may become one. Kakashi said, chuckling. Maybe you should seek someone from the outside, you know. I saw 2 potential brides for you the other day back in the village, now that I think about it. And they are? Despite avoiding the marriage, Kakashi did read Jiraiya's porn books. At least he held a healthy appreciation for fair gender. Well. Naruto began as he reminded himself of the 2 Kumo kunoichis from the streets of Konoha. The blonde one had the biggest breasts I ever saw. Okay, I'm calling it a night. Sasuke said, in his Uchiha monotone voice, leaving the 2 of them alone and going back inside, as the rain continued falling into the night. There is some sort of cold war between him and female kind, I believe. Naruto muttered to Kakashi. Let him be Naruto. Kakashi said, with a tone of understanding. He has his own demons to fight. Naruto nodded, understanding what Kakashi meant with that. In a way, it was admiring that Sasuke was normal as he could be, despite everything that happened to him. But tell me, who were those 2 women? Maybe I know them? He smiled under his mask. As I said, the blonde one had the biggest breasts I ever saw. The picture of them flew through his mind. Then you haven't seen your Aunt Tsunade in person. Ha ha ha. No. Naruto chuckled for a moment. But I heard enough stories about her from Uncle Jiraiya. And the other one? Naruto's face turned curious as he looked at the rainy sky. She had dark skin and silver hair. Not uncommon in Kumogakure. Kakashi added right away. No, it is not uncommon. Her exotic look wasn't the reason why she interested him. Sure, she was well endowed and all. But pick mushrooms around your own fields was the philosophy he abided by. I found out that Jinchuriki can increase the chakra of his children. One of them is the daughter of one. Kakashi concluded. Indeed. As he said that, the lighting struck something in the distance. We better get some sleep as well, Naruto. Kakashi said, placing his arm on his shoulder. I'll take the first watch. Just in case. Understood, sensei. But as he moved back into the building, Naruto turned back once more. But instead of another lighting in the distance, he saw a massive whirl of wind forming in the middle of the sea, with few storms surrounding it. Dangerous and deadly. A tornado. Something he never saw before, and having an opportunity to see it firsthand, the picture embodied inside his mind. The Warring States era, the Senju Uchiha battlefield. The 15-year-old Tobirama was lost in time as the battle raged on around him. His clansmen were killing the Uchihas and were being killed in turn. He already killed a few of their adults, not regretting his action for a moment. Another Uchiha adult jumped in front of him. The remnants of the burnt ground around him. A pyromaniac clan. No. This was not an Uchiha. Tobirama looked at the battle armor of the man in front of him. He had dark blue pants and torso with the light blue pieces of plate armor on him. And a feral look of hate on his face. So some of them joined the Uchihas in this attack. The young Senju gripped his sword tighter. He knew very well what these monsters were capable of doing. His brother, Kawurama, died because of them. by a rejects of their clan. The Hagoromo clan. Allies of the Uchiha. If the Uchihas had their palms covered in Senju blood, then Hagoromos had the entire hand up their shoulders drenched in it. You wretched little bastard. The man grinned evilly as he looked at him, preparing to attack. I'm going to enjoy killing Butsuma's brat. Just what he needed. Another vengeful and delusional idiot. Tobirama did not move, his grip on his sword was unwavering. You are welcome to try. It wouldn't be the first time he fought against them. This would be nothing. Oh, I will. I fucking will. And he charged towards him, engaging into the Kenjutsu skirmish. The Hagoromo shinobi had the raw power, he had the strength. But Tobirama had the speed necessary to avoid his strikes, and retaliate in turn. You're a fast little fucker, aren't you? Tobirama did not answer as he went for an attack. He moving his blade towards the enemy, attempting to strike him straight into the chest, but the men reflected his attack with his own sword. And once again, Tobirama was on defense. The Hagoromo shinobi went for his own attack, trying to slice Tobirama's head from his shoulders. But the younger Senju man evaded it, by simply crouching down at the speed that his opponent was unable to follow. As he crouched down, Tobirama sliced the left leg of the man, incapacitating him. Ag! He yelped in pain. You fucking son of a whore. He dropped his sword right away, gripping his leg in pain, attempting to stop the bleeding. In vain. This is the end. Tobirama stated as he now stood above him. His face was stern, but with no pleasure, he would do this. Only for duty. He held his sword above him, while his wounded enemy still knelt on the ground. When he looked up, his face was full of fear. But he did not beg. A true shinobi. Tobirama ended his misery with one precise strike. His sword moved straight into the enemy's neck, ending his life. The Senju teen did not wait for the light of the Hagoromo shinobi to leave his eyes. There was no need for it. Every second was of importance in this battle. He was tired himself after the hours of fighting, but for the sake of his clan, he would keep moving. He jumped through the battlefield that was sprinkled with dead bodies, both of the Uchiha and Hagoromo's shinobi, but of his clansmen as well. Though, in far fewer numbers. He jumped on the nearby rock, looking around the field. In one corner near the hill, he saw the three of his clansmen surrounding an Uchiha shinobi. Uchiha Izuna. Tobirama saw they surrounded him of all people. But before Tobirama could join them, another Uchiha attacked him, and he was forced into a defensive position for a mere moment, before killing the man. Again, with his sword. It would be pointless to waste chakra on him, and the others. That was reserved for tougher beasts. Beasts like Izuna, for example. Luckily, lately, the number of those who could pose a bigger threat dwindled in both the Uchiha and Hagoromo clans. He looked towards the rock where Izuna was. Tobirama focused his chakra, sensing their strength. His three clansmen were above the average power, in comparison to the others on the battle. But Izuna was wasted. He would die. Just like Itama did. Tobirama went to join them, and deliver the justice for his younger brother, and many other clansmen. The war was prolonged because of the Uchiha's lack of will for peace. No matter how much Hashirama tried to milk it from them. Or better said, milk it from Madara. About 10 feet far from their location, Tobirama sensed Izuna gathering chakra in his eyes. What? And then he sensed the chakra surrounding his three clansmen. Amaterasu. 1, Izuna shouted, and the black flames erupted near all three of his clansmen, spreading all over their bodies. No! Tobirama moved through few hand signs, clapping his hands in the end, and focusing his chakra and the water in the air around him. Water style, water shockwave. He sent the massive wave of water towards them, wanting to extinguish the unfamiliar black flames. Izuna jumped above, to the hill that was behind him, all the while covering his right eye with his hand. Once the water settled down, his clansmen laid dead on the ground. And the black flames still surrounded them. What? Tobirama questioned as he saw the flames still burning, not being toned down a bit, if anything, their reach extended. They were as black as the eyeliners from the eyes of the Kyuubi. And wicked as the eyes itself. Ha ha ha. I thought you were smarter than that, Tobirama. That impudent vermin, Izuna taunted, but he still held his hand on top of his eye. You should just see the look on your face right now. Tobirama did not fall for his taunts. The emotions were useless on the battlefield, but it did not change the fact that the rabbling of that Uchiha vermin annoyed him even more than he wanted to admit. What sort of the attack was that? The ultimate power of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Izuna grinned in satisfaction. This is why the Uchiha clan is superior, Tobirama. You will never reach our potential. He removed his hand from his eye, revealing traces of blood he did not have before. So that's how it goes. Tobirama narrowed his eyes as he saw the state of Izuna's right eye. Whenever he used that ability, his eyes would take the damage as well. If his theory was correct, there was possibly a cooldown between the time when he could use it again. Or maybe Izuna just opted not using it, due to his currently low chakra reserves. Whatever the case was, in either a foolish moment of pride, or just a pure ignorance, Izuna partially revealed much to Tobirama in a matter of seconds. Tobirama! His brother shouted from behind as he jumped near him. Hashirama looked tired as well. His fight with Madara must have ended in another stalemate, as he could sense Madara's chakra appearing near Izuna at that same time. I'm fine, elder brother. Phew. I'm glad to hear it. And he's back on his idiotic mindset. Sometimes, Tobirama wondered how his brother lived for so long. What are we going to do with them? He inclined his head at the two Uchiha brothers who stood on the small rock hill 20 feet in front of them. Madara looked more tired than Hashirama and even more tired than Izuna. If his younger brother has a death wish, he might stay and die. Hopefully, he does. Tobirama gripped his sword once again as he looked at the two Uchiha brothers. But Madara opted for a different approach, as he and his brother disappeared in a puff of smoke. Or not. Rationality outweighed Madara's pride this time. Man, that intense. I have never fought against Madara with such passion. His elder brother exclaimed, falling on the ground in relief. He can sure give a strong punch. That golem of his, hee. Hashirama. Tobirama sneered, and his brother tensed. Look. He pointed to the 3 burning bodies of his clansmen, and unextinguishable black flames. And not just them, but look around you. What's there to celebrate? The Uchihas have a new power to help them. Oh, they have that as well, huh? Hashirama scratched his head for a bit, giving him a foolish grin in return. Tobirama sighed. And then it clicked him. That as well? What are you talking about? Does it have something with Madara's golem that you mentioned? He crossed his arms, waiting for Hashirama's explanation. Yeah. And finally, he turned serious. Madara called it Susanoo. He summoned a giant skeleton avatar of chakra around him. You did not see it, we were too far from the battle anyway. Izuna called those flames of his Amaterasu. Hashirama nodded. It seems they both awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. And both of them have different abilities as well. Great, another troublesome affair. Tobirama muttered. He could sense when and where Izuna would send his flames. If he was fast enough, he could evade Izuna's attack if it ever came to that sort of attack again. This required the additional studying, as well as training. At least we've won this battle, Tobirama. No need to be grumpy with that. Their cousin, Toka said as she walked towards them. Tough, I admit that the Uchihas are getting more troublesome as time goes by. Oh? And what could they do to annoy you to such extent, Takakan? Hashirama asked, smiling. Stop calling me that. She complained. You're a clan leader, Hashirama. Do you know how much is it affecting the morale of our clan when you praise Madara and the Uchihas at the every step you take, or when you're acting so irresponsible? It's an honorable and healthy appreciation of your rival. Hashirama insisted. Will he ever forget that part of his childhood, and a friend that chose to turn back on their dream? Tobirama remembered very well who it was who severed that bond, as much as he loathed using that word. She is right, elder brother. Hashirama buried his face into his hands. Not you too, Tobirama. How many times do I have to tell you? Enough with that. He shut him up. For heaven's sake, grow up already. Neither you nor Madara are children any longer. What happened between you two is a history. Again, in his childish manner, Hashirama pouted. Never mind then. He's still going through puberty. How did your part of the fight went on? He asked their cousin who stood there, watching them argue in amusement. Not bad, to say the least. One Uchiha slut managed to copy one of my genjutsus, but I got rid of her before she could pass it to the others. More and more of them are awakening Sharingan. I even saw one of them using one of your water techniques, Tobirama. Tobirama frowned hearing that, ignoring the crude language she used. Another troublesome affair that will need to be dealt with. What is the status of our forces? Toka answered. We have lost approximately 36 shinobi. Both Senju brothers frowned at hearing that. The enemy, however, lost more than 100. We have beat them. Soundly. She said, smirking. Finding at least some satisfaction in a lake of tragedy. Those were the good news, as his other clansmen cheered around him. He did not join them, however. It was just postponing the inevitable. With the way this was going, they might lose eventually. The Uchihas and Hagoromos were much more numerous than the Senjus. I believe we won't be having another battle in the next few years after this. Hashirama stated. Correct. More time for them to recuperate and increase their training. God forbid more of them awake the Mangekyo. Why did the heavens give them such dangerous weapon? As if the copying of the others' abilities was not enough. The Uchihas were getting stronger, at the fast rate with the way things were going until now. The speed. That's right. That shall be the counter to Izuna. Ideas already appearing in his mind, Tobirama allowed a small smile to grace his face, as his clansmen still cheered for victory around him. He would counter their copying as well. The battle today proved that the Senjus were stronger. But anything can crumble when countless termites overwhelm you. And their wooden fortress would not stand forever with that in mind. Tobirama. His brother addressed him with a sad smile. One that was lacking the usual spark in his laughing eyes. It is time to bury the dead. Right. He nodded. He just needed to remove that black flame from the three bodies. But maybe he could explore the basis of those flames as well. Time for some Fuinjutsu application. Konohagakure no Sato, the Hokage's office, present day sitting in his office in the Hokage's tower, the Sandaime read the contents of Iwagakure's newest edition of the bingo book, that his old friend, Mariboshi Kosuke, brought from his latest border patrolling mission. Hiruzen sighed, placing the said bingo book on his table. As if they needed more trouble. Anoki most likely couldn't resist but place another burden on his shoulders. Hiruzen was tempted to jump straight to IWA and challenge the Sandaime Tsuchikage for a duel, but discarded such notion, immediately. Thank you for delivering this to me, Kosuke. Naruto's caretaker nodded, serious expression in place. He was on a patrol duty by the land around Land of Grass, engaging a group of 3 IWA brothers. Before the 3 brothers fled, one of them dropped the Iwagakure's latest bingo book. To both Hiruzen's and Kosuka's shock, initially, the book had the abundant information regarding Naruto. His real name included. They had another break in security. The surveillance of key archive buildings should be monitored more closely. Or everything should be transported to a more protected and hidden underground facility. It really should. What do you make of this, old friend? Kosuka was silent for a moment before answering. Given the date they have published the book, I'd wager that the Onikidono is placing this as a warning, although a possibility of an assassination attempt should not be discarded. I'm of the same mind as you. Hiruzen nodded. We should not be lax with the defenses of our northern borders in any case. I believe Kyumo already knows about this as well. Emichim. You said that one of the emissaries recognized Naruto-kun? Maybe they got the info from IWA and proceeded to investigate the credibility of it. Maybe. I don't know. Hiruzen said. It does not matter in the end. His identity would be revealed anyway, but I'd prefer it if we did not have any interference before the eventual day. Something like that is not possible now. You assume that either Iwagakure or others might send the assassins to eliminate Naruto-kun? Kosuka asked with a frown. Indeed. His team is already 1 member short due to the semi-failed mission I have told you about. I need to find a suitable replacement first. Hiruzen said, looking at the Eternal Genin, contemplating the potential development. Do you have someone in mind? Kosuka asked. Maybe I do. Sarutobi was smiling now, as the realization came to Kosuka. The man sighed. Hiruzen, I already have told you before, but I have no intention of advancing further in ranking. You don't need to be promoted in the long run. Hiruzen interjected. You just need to fill the place for the first 2 rounds of the exams. It is allowed to quit before the 3rd round. It certainly happens all the time. But surely, there would be someone else who is more suitable to be their teammate. It wouldn't be Kosuka if he did not refuse one of his offer of being honored as it is due. He would accept this in any case. The refusal was much meeker than usual. Sarutobi mused he still clung to it due to the tradition or his silent stubbornness. I somehow doubt that very much. Hiruzen continued smiling. Kosuka sighed, but then gave a smile of his own. Duty falls upon us all, and we should not flee from it. Sarutobi nodded. Indeed. It will be only for the duration of the Chunin exams. I won't force you further than that. That is of course, unless you want to join another team in the near future. Hee. I think I will pass on your offer, Sandaime-sama. When are Naruto-kun and his team due to return to the village? He is scheduled to return today, I believe. He should finish his little trip to Uzushio by now. Emichim. The Eternal Genin grunted. I suppose this little task won't be meaningless. I'll do my best to guard our future generation the best of my abilities. I couldn't ask for a better guardian, old friend. What will you do with IWA now? Kosuka asked him, going back to the most important subject at the moment. Hiruzen contemplated for a moment, looking at the map of the elemental nations that hung on the wall to his right. There wasn't much he could do here. For all intents and purposes, Inoki did not breach any peace agreement from the Third War. Nothing but wait. I'm more concerned about the Raikage's involvement than I am with Inoki. In any case, I won't be lax with our defenses to the north. If either IWA or Kyumo decide to invade us, they won't be our ending. Kosuka nodded. Have you decided what will you do with the Raikage-sama's offer, regarding the Chunin exams? I spoke with the elders, Jiraiya and Hayashi. Kosuka listened. Hayashi was a primary concern for making this decision. The past between his clan and Konoha's rival village was tense, at best. In reality, it was hostile, bordering a stalemate warlike state. Just like he had to move Yamanakas from the northwestern borders of the Land of Fire, he had to move the Hyuga shinobi away from the northeastern border. Lest to provoke another war, even if the occasional skirmishes occurred over the years. He was not against the decision to allow Kumogakure's genin to participate, but he suggested we should limit their numbers for better surveillance. I thought the same. So only 5 teams will participate. Just that? He also said that he will bar his daughter and her team from entering the exams. Kurenai has also told me that she has problems with Hinata's self-confidence. Hearing the experience from the girl's peers at the exams might help her exit her shell, at least a bit I hope. It might annoy her other teammates. They are from Inuzuka and Aburame clans, yes? They are. A tracker team. He was interrupted by a knock at the door, with the voice of his secretary. Hokage-sama. His secretary spoke behind the doors. He allowed her to enter and continue. Naruto-san wishes to speak with you. Does he have permission to enter? Of course. Minato's son was always welcomed. And from what he knew, he hadn't seen Kosuke in a long time as well. A moment later, Naruto entered the room. Old man. He greeted him, and right after he saw Kosuke in the room as well. Uncle Kosuke? Naruto approached and hugged his surrogate uncle. I haven't seen you in months. How are you? Hee. I have been doing rather well lately. But you can blame Hiruzen for placing so many duties upon me. Guilty as charged. Hiruzen smiled. But someone has to do it. It sure does. So, Naruto-kun. How has your mission passed? No problems, I assume? Nope. It went on perfectly fine. Well. As fine as it can get with me. Naruto said, scratching the back of his head and having a small smile on his face. Sarutobi raised his eyebrow in question, but otherwise said nothing. Kosuke was silent as well, waiting for the boy to speak. Naruto pulled a scroll from his pouch, placing it on the table in front of him. In this scroll, there is one missing nin from Amigakure. I killed the other 2, but I did capture one of them. You might want to check the things that are happening in the Takigakure, by the way. From what I overheard of their talk, it can be prevented if we act on time. And I believe the torture and interrogation unit might find her useful regarding one of our bigger problems. What sort of problems? Hiruzen asked, as he took the scroll into his hand, casting a small glance at it, before looking back at Naruto. The Akatsuki problem. Both he and Kosuke frowned at hearing that, and the following report from that part of the mission. Defeating 3 missing nins was not an easy job for a genin, and Hiruzen certainly felt pride at listening to Naruto describe it. Taking a prisoner even more so. Connection to the Akatsuki, however, opened a new front for them to fight against. You can rest easy that I will have my men look into this, Naruto-kun. And indeed, we have heard conflicting reports from Amigakure lately. Some say that Hanzo is still alive, and some say he is dead. I don't need to remind you to keep it to yourself. Especially considering the fact that the Akatsuki might be connected to this. My lips are sealed. But you will tell me if you find something, right? Naruto asked. And he had the right to know. But Hiruzen couldn't in the right mind tell him everything. I will. He said, mouth placed in a thin line as he did. How did the rest of your mission go? No more missing nins to trouble you? Sadly, no. Naruto smiled as took the seat to the nearby chair. I searched through the various temples on the island, including the one near Konoha, one that was abandoned. Found anything interesting? A lot of masks, both in that temple, and the ones on the island. Your former teammate, Hamurasama, was pretty pesky when it came to that during our report. I swear. It was as if the man almost considered those masks his own property. Hiruzen sighed, rubbing the side of his head in annoyance. He and Koharu got rather complacent in their position. I'll warn him not to do it again. Naruto waved it off. I was meaning to ask you something else. What is it, Naruto-kun? He said nothing else, only unsealing another scroll, that revealed a large Fuma shuriken. I assume there's more to this? Naruto nodded, pointing on a sealing formula that stood on the edge of the weapon. Hiruzen recognized it right away. Is this? Judging by the Kosuke's expression, he did too. It's an Uzumaki sealing formula. Kosuke said, as he took a closer look. Did you found this on the island as well, Naruto-kun? Yes, I mean, no. He corrected himself. It was stuck within the forehead of a giant marlin, a summon of the Uzumaki clan. He continued describing Team 7's fight against the giant marlin, and discovery of the Fuma shuriken and its task of keeping the Uzumaki summon out of his realm. Frown on him and Kosuke deepened as Naruto told that tale. I assume you got a theory of your own? I do, and I was wondering if you know something about that? I'm afraid not. Naruto narrowed his eyes at his answer. While the possibility of more Uzumaki surviving is not out of the question, I can't be sure that those two shinobis who fought one another are one. A tradition of the Uzumaki clan dictates that family stands before the power. That was the reason why the first Uzumaki separated from the Senju clan in the first place. Naruto was ruffling through his hair the entire time. I guess. But it won't kill to hope, would it? Hiruzen smiled a sad smile. No, it wouldn't. By the way, I found this map as well. Naruto said as he pulled it out of his pocket, spreading it across the table. Apparently these may be the colonies and estates of the Uzumaki clan across the continent. See. He pointed at the Uzumaki clan's temple near Konoha, followed by the few islands south of the Land of Fire. These 3 islands are listed in a possession, but otherwise I know nothing of them. He muttered by the end, no doubt annoyed for not knowing what it was. His expression was almost like that of Minato when something did not go his way. Back on the subject, Hiruzen looked at the map more throughout. He did not recognize any of those islands, nor did he ever saw them on any other map out there. Have you ever heard of these? He directed the question to Kosuke, who leaned forward, looking at the map with a frown. I don't believe so. Kosuke stated, looking up at him. I never saw islands south to the Land of Wind on any other map. Naruto-kun, where did you find this map exactly? Hiruzen never saw them either. Maybe Noon bothered to travel there in the first place. No one but the Uzumakis. In an old building in Uzushio. It was something akin to a museum of sorts, I believe. It was behind one painting. Hiruzen decided to give his own opinion. I can arrange for an expedition to be made in the following months, after the Chunin exams. Naruto gave a slow nod. That's fine with me. As long as I get to go, of course. Sarutobi smiled. I wouldn't have it any other way. So what else did you brought from this mission? He probably gave Hamura less of the information than he believed. Hundreds of headbands, a statue, few paintings that stood in some buildings. Those that survived at least. And dozens of masks, of course. Do those masks have any purpose? He saw Naruto's lips morphing into a thin line. I found them in temples, but I don't know of what use can they be, yet. Hiruzen suspected there was more to this than meets the eye, but let the matter go. If he knew anything about them, he would have told him. As he did with the potential location of the Akatsuki. KHM. In any case, I'm glad your mission was successful, but there are other matters I need to address now. Naruto sat still, listening. I'd rather prefer if we had your other 2 teammates for this, but you can relay them this information tomorrow. What information? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. The status of your third teammate, of course. Hiruzen said and smiled as he looked towards Kosuke, before turning back towards Naruto. The Senju quickly connected the dots and gave a large grin in return. 3 hours later, at the Ichiraku ramen stand, so you got the idea of combining wind and water to create a tornado, wind strengthened by the water when needed? Kosuke asked as he and Naruto sat in his favorite stand, eating ramen and talking of various things that happened for the past few months since he became genin. He also couldn't believe that his surrogate uncle would be also his teammate. The old man outdid himself with this arrangement. Pretty much. Naruto said once he ate the last noodle. I mean, it is not impossible if you get my meaning. Iwagakure and Kumogakure have plenty of shinobi who combine the two elements to create a new one in turn. They did, but it did not mean that the user of those advanced nature transformations was always stronger than the one who does not have it. He thought he would find something on Uzushio, but aside from the masks he did not know the use of, he did not find much. The supposed colonies of the Uzumaki aside. Kumogakure and Iwagakure have the blood necessary to do so, even if those who utilize those abilities are not clan-based. Kosuke said. Naruto knew that as well. Lava release, storm release, boil release, magnet release, swift release. Just to name some bloodlines who are common in those villages. Well. Common is a generous word. From what he knew, less than 2% of shinobis in those villages, respectively, could use those elements. Still, it gives plenty of prestige to the village's name. One that washes away their defeats in the past wars. Or at least they wanted to believe. They had the blood, or DNA, necessary to create those advanced elements in the first place. Few people did it in the past, and passed on that ability to the future generations. Hence why those advanced nature transformations are not attributed to the clans. As you did not know who is humping who in those two villages. Prepare me another one, Tukazan. Naruto said, getting the positive reply from the owner. After which he placed his hand on his chin in a thinking pose as he waited for another bowl of ramen. I don't think there was anyone with tornado release ever recorded to exist. His surrogate uncle chuckled. I don't think I ever heard or saw someone with it either. 2. It doesn't kill to be original somewhere, doesn't it? I guess not. Hiruzen tried to combine fire and earth into lava, but was never successful in doing so. True. Naruto nodded. Yet his combination techniques are renowned across the elemental nations. Speaking of the other nations. How do you think IWA got the info of me? The old man and Kosuke told him of that development after briefing him of the new addition to his team. Being in Bingo Book was something he expected, but not so soon into his career as a shinobi. It was something he dreamed about many times. But now that he saw his picture in one of them, it was as if kunai hung under his neck. Yet at the same time, he was not as afraid as he thought he would be. Excitement was a better word to describe the feeling he was having, but the traces of both fear and paranoia were there, deeply hidden. But they were there. I don't know. It is possible that someone leaked it from the village. Or that IWA made a connection of their own. Everything is possible. It won't hurt to be curious. Naruto muttered, as Tsuchi came back with his bowl of ramen. Thanks. You're welcome, Naruto. The ramen owner smiled. For a brief moment, Naruto wondered if he was the one who leaked it, after previously making a connection somehow. But he shook his head, ashamed of his thoughts. Neither Tsuchi, nor his daughter looked the type of people who would do such a thing. A traitor's even less. As he ate his bowl of ramen, Kosuke spoke once again. You shouldn't worry yourself that much, Naruto-kun. The Tsuchikage is not someone to risk the safety of his village for an assassination incident in the peacetime. The wisdom comes with age, as they say. And after many failures of IWA in the past, I don't think he would act rashly and in open. The Yondaime Reikage, on the other hand, was never the one for the assassinations anyway, even if he is too rash and impulsive sometimes. That man would sooner kidnap the target and use it to strengthen his village somehow. Though Kosuke used a rather polite tone, Naruto understood the meaning of those words. That Tsuchikage would make it an accident during one of his missions, so as to make no connections to IWA. The Reikage, on the other hand, would try to kidnap him like he tried to do with Hinata and perhaps use him as a breeding tool for his own future forces. Naruto's bingo book could certainly tempt the village leaders to do such a thing. Bloodline theft was common long ago, but it doesn't mean that the practice is forgotten or banned. And even if Naruto did not have any particular bloodline, the prestige of his clan, and the knowledge about the strength of their blood and chakra was known across the nations. For a moment, as he ate his food, Naruto thought who would the Reikage use to do that, if he ever opted to that alternative, that is. As he thought about it more, he realized that the kidnapping was out of the question, for he was not a 3-year-old. However, there were other ways to get what one wanted. Looking at the 2 pieces of egg and brown meat in his bowl, Naruto remembered the 2 Kumo emissaries from the previous week. His lips moved slightly upwards as he thought of such things, though he promised himself to store that info for later. Kosuke chuckled, seeing his reaction, but Naruto did not comment on it. He merely continued eating the food in front of him, his smile still on his face. They ate and talked at the Ichiraku's for an hour or so, before deciding to go and train a little. Tough Kosuke had something to add regarding that. It seems we won't be able to train for longer. It looks like it's gonna be a stormy evening and night. Yeah. It looks like it, Naruto said as he looked at the sky. Tomorrow, Konohagakure no Sato, the Hokage's tower heavens, that man never learns. Hiruzen thought as he looked at the large entourage of the Fire Daimyo's court approached the Hokage's tower. Much more than it was necessary for a simple, if political visit. Had this been a welcoming ceremony for a Chunin exam's final matches, it would have been one thing. But this was pointless in a larger scale of things. Aside from the fact that the feudal lord arrived a day earlier than it was arranged, Hiruzen had to scramble everything at the fast rate. It looks like they've all brought their wives and children as well. Hiruzen mused it was a way for a royal court to show off their power, or as to present themselves as a true reigning power of the land of fire. A completely unnecessary show of power. Granted, by the official laws, the ones that Shodai Hokagesima agreed upon, the daimyo of the country was at the top of the hierarchy. A system that was copied by the others as well. But unlike the other villages, Konoha always had a good relationship with the daimyo and his court. However, everyone knew where the real power resided here. But there was never a need for manipulation. Hiruzen stood at the front. The 2 of his bodyguards, Namishi Rado and Shiranui Genma, flanked him from both left and right. The village elders, and the other various village officials stood not far behind him, along with the heads of various clans of Konoha. A welcoming ceremony was a tradition in any case. Many villagers flanked the main street that led to the tower, throwing flowers at the streets through which the daimyo's carriage walked over, cheering at the sight in front of them. Koharu and Hamura had a content look on their faces, while the reaction of the various clan heads varied. From the indifference to a content smile, but even the annoyance and boredom. I can't blame them. The main carriage wheel stopped in front of the entrance of the Hokage's tower. Hiruzen could both see and sense few of his shinobis that stood either hidden, or in open, protecting the feudal lord and his entourage. Ever since that incident a few years ago, when Itachi's team was attacked by an unknown missing nin, he strengthened the protection of the daimyo. In both the capital, and during his travels. After the debacle with that incident as well as that of the 12 guardian ninjas, this was a far better improvement. Better safe than sorry. Demayadono. Hiruzen gave a slight bow to the man, followed by the rest of his council and the clan heads. The daimyo gave a content smile in return. Welcome to Konohagakure no Sato. Your presence emanates peace, joy, and prosperity whenever you come here. I hope your stay at Konohagakure is pleasant for its duration, along with your court. He seemed pleased with his words, giving few hums and nods here and there. I see. I see. It is always a pleasure coming here, Hiruzen. We have much to discuss in the following days, yes? That we do, Demayadono. I'm glad you were welcoming of Konoha's suggestion regarding the wave country. Ah, yes. That one. But I'm interested in the increasing of the defenses of our country as well. He clapped his fan onto the palm of his hand. I forwarded the request to the land of hot water regarding the Gato and his scheming, in any case. They won't be able to protect criminal activities that come from their country any longer, and we can send your shinobis to investigate it in detail. He motioned for a young boy, an attendant, to approach holding a box filled with scrolls in his hand. Thank you for your assistance, Demayadono. Hiruzen said, motioning for one of his own assistants to take care of the documents. We will make sure something like that never happens again. Right. See to it. Daimyo said, turning towards the others present who were still there, having a look of satisfaction as he looked around. Tough, he made a slight flinch under Danzo's impassive stare. Sarutobi sighed at the show in front of him. He proceeded to remedy the situation by going on to the subject of the Lord's visit. Shall we discuss about the border defenses, Demayadono? It is the purpose of this visit, and just 2 weeks before the Chunin exams are to start. He sent a glare towards Danzo, warning him to stop with his games. It was as if the man turned to jester whenever the feudal lord visited. No doubt he was still bitter regarding Minato's election as the yondaime and his reinstatement to the position after the former's death. Danzo in turn, did not budge at all, though, his lips turned slightly upwards for a moment. Right, right. The defenses. The daimyo turned Sarutobi once again. In your letters you mentioned this prodigious young shinobi that came up with it, Saburo, right? Indeed, the young man advanced in his career at the astonishingly fast rate. Not as fast as Minato, Kakashi, or Itachi did, but fast nonetheless. Especially for someone who came from an orphan civilian background. Then I look forward to meeting this young man in person. A young mind who cares for the well-being of his country must be an exceptional person. Don't you agree, Hiruzen? Hiruzen simply hummed, nodding in agreement, even if he was not fully on board. Too many times prodigious shinobi turned rogue for whatever reason. He learned not to be too enthusiastic. While Shikaku himself deduced nothing suspicious from his new underling. So Hiruzen placed aside that worry for a while. He had other people to warn him about potential traitors. And until now, their job was highly successful, for there was a decrease in the numbers of missignans that came from Konoha in the past 2 years. At the Naka Bridge, you're late. Sasuke stated with a glare, as Naruto and Kosuke walked towards the middle of the bridge where he stood. And where is Kakashi? Good morning to you too, Sasuke. And yes, I'm well, thanks for asking. Naruto stated, dryly. Seems that someone woke up on a wrong foot this morning. As for Kakashi-sensei, he won't be joining us today, or the next week for that matter. Sasuke raised his eyebrow in question. It seems that Kakashi-sensei did not told him of the development for the next few days. The daimyo and his court just arrived at the village. I think he'll be busy with the meetings and all that. From what Kosuke previously told him, the daimyo's visits were a rarity in the village, outside of the final rounds of the Chunin exams. And whenever he visited Konoha outside of those, it was due to the talks of the security of the Land of Fire. And Kakashi-sensei being one of the higher-ranking shinobis of the village, as well as a member of the clan, even if it was reduced to only him, was expected to be present at those meetings. Sasuke nodded, proceeding to ask the following. "And who is this?" He nodded his head towards Kosuke. "This is our new teammate, Mariboshi Kosuke. A pleasure meeting you, Sasuke-san." As soon as Naruto introduced him, Sasuke narrowed his eyes in his usual unhappy manner. Naruto sighed. "Sasuke, besides being our new teammate, Uncle Kosuke was also my caretaker when I was younger. And even without that, he is one of the most respected shinobis in the village. If that's true, then why is he still a genin?" Sasuke asked back with a tone of disappointment. Naruto went to answer, but Kosuke cut him off, wearing his usual kind smile in face. "Being a shinobi is more than wearing a high rank next to your name in a bingo book, Sasuke-san. That is what your clansman, and my old friend Kagami, would often say to me." "You knew the Uchihas?" Sasuke's eyes bulged for a moment as he asked that. Naruto moved a feet away towards the railing of the bridge, as to not be in the middle of this conversation. Sasuke acted as weird as he could get this morning. "Indeed I did. We were both students of Naruto-kun's ancestor, Senju Tobirama." Sasuke said nothing else, but giving a small nod and deciding to change a subject. "So what are we to do for the next week, while Kakashi is busy?" "Train, what else?" Naruto shrugged it off. "We are to participate in the Chunin exams that will be held here, and Uncle Kosuke can help us improve in the meantime." Sasuke placed his hands into his pockets and gave his usual grunt in affirmation. "Hn." And they went to the training ground 7 to train. Training ground 7. For the duration of their training, Naruto told Kosuke to spend more time with Sasuke, improving his skills in whatever field that was necessary. Naruto was training with his clones in the meantime. Attempting to combine wind and water wasn't that hard when using clones. The entire time water would strengthen the vortex, but would eventually disperse the wind itself, as it was too strong for a simple, yet a bit materialized air to hold together. He decided to move to another aspect of his training, space-time ninjutsu. For the past few months, he focused more on developing different seals, so as to increase his overall fuinjutsu abilities. And in general it worked. But space-time ninjutsu, or the flying thunder god of his father and great-grandfather, was tied tightly to it. Yet for the world of it, he couldn't understand the mechanism of it. Neither his father, nor great-grandfather left any specific formulas to make one. Only that one could make their own formula. He heard that his father taught 3 shinobi of Konoha how to do a lesser version of the technique, but that version of the flying thunder god was more of a regular spacetime technique that was used for simple teleportation. Not for fighting a war, and decimating enemy armies. He continued writing various seals on the papers in front of him. Most of the seals he picked from various books that he had in his possession. Some belonged to his father and were very helpful in enlarging his repertoire of fuinjutsu. But being the original in something, and leaving something to the village arsenal was always a welcome sight in Konoha. And for one's legacy as well. Hence why Naruto wanted to create his own seals. He did not lack the ideas of developing new seals. But bringing the realization to fruition was another thing. At the moment he wanted to develop a sleep-inducing seal, one that worked without poison. A seal similar to the Temple of Nirvana technique. Where a victim would not notice anything strange happening to them once the seal was placed on their forehead. And a seal that would leave no trace of foreign presence within their bodies. If only he could salvage more from Uzushio, but apart from the mask, that he was yet to figure out the purpose, there wasn't much. Naruto was lost in thought that for a moment he would have missed Kosuke and Sasuke approaching him. Lifting his head up, Naruto addressed them. "Judging from the looks of you, I assume your opinion of Uncle Kosuke has changed?" he said to Sasuke, smiling. "Hn." Sasuke grunted in affirmation, a content look on his face, wiping the sweat from his forehead that fell down his face. I did not expect him to be this strong, I admit. He took his bento with food, that laid by the nearby tree, returning to where Naruto and Kosuke sat under the sky. The weather was much different than it was this morning, with the sun hidden by the gray clouds, shadowing the training ground. How strong opponents do you expect at the Chunin exams? Sasuke asked him, as he ate from his bento. Naruto laid freely to the ground, placing his hands on the back of his head as he stared at the clouds, himself taking a pause from training. Depends on the village, I guess. The others will send their best. Sasuke stated. That they will. Naruto said. He turned his head towards Kosuke, who sat and ate silently. Uncle, what do you think? I never watched the Chunin exams when they were held in Konoha. Less to make someone from the outside see him back then and make an unwanted connection. Kosuke digested his food before responding back. Usually, Taki, Aim, Kusa participate in the exams Konoha is hosting. Tough, with our alliance with Sunigakure, they send their shinobi as well. Sometimes. Some other minor villages send their Chunin hopefuls to participate, but it depends on their candidates as well as leaders and our relationship. Like Tsukigakure in the former case. And before our enmity, the genins of the Land of Woods would participate as well. I suppose we are to be wary of Suninins then? With them being one of the Great Five, they are most likely to be the biggest threat? Sasuke asked, while Naruto listened and contemplated his words. Even if they became allies from former enemies, no Konoha shinobi should expect to get all lovely-dovely with their western rival turned ally, yes, but you should not discard those from the minor nations either, Sasuke-san. Kosuke said, before continuing. This year, Kumogakure will send their own shinobi, as well. This information surprised Sasuke, but not Naruto. He knew that already. But Sasuke's look of surprise quickly morphed into a satisfied smirk. Getting excited for the opportunity to copy techniques from the lighting affinity-based village? Naruto asked, seeing his reaction. Getting back to them in kind, I'd rather say. Sasuke responded back, looking at the ground as he ate, his satisfied smile still in place. Won't it be against the rules if we have an experienced shinobi on our team? You mean Uncle Kosuke? Naruto questioned. Well, in truth, it won't. As there is no such a rule that prevents the shinobi of a certain age to participate, as long as they are officially ranked as genin, of course. And despite everything, Uncle Kosuke is known as the eternal genin to the other nations. Indeed. Confirmed Kosuke with a nod. Tobirama created the Chunin exams in the first place to assert the power of the other villages among many different reasons. Judging their new generations is a good way to measure the strength of the others. And to eliminate the potential threats as well. Naruto added in his thoughts. Then it won't stop them either from infiltrating some of their own stronger shinobi to the exams. Sasuke stated with narrowed eyes. Hee. True. They could do that. But it doesn't happen very often. Kosuke began explaining. First, it wouldn't be hard to find it out. In my case, those who know of me know that I'm also a genin. Second of all, if it ever happens, the purpose of the exams is the advancement of a certain genin or genins to a final round. But also for the various clients and nobility to be entertained, as well as to show them the strength of the shinobi they could hire for whatever reason they need to. Placing a higher-ranked shinobi into the exams can't be hidden forever. It would cause a village to lose a face in that case. The Bloody Mist did that few times in the past, but their reputation was already at its lowest. Making it all meaningless in a larger scale of things. Kosuke explained to Sasuke. Naruto stretched his muscles as he rose up to stand. You can test yourself against the other contestants when the time comes, Sasuke. For now, I'd like to spar with Uncle Kosuke. I haven't done that in months. He said with a grin. Do as you wish. Sasuke shrugged it nonchalantly, but his mood soured right away as the haunted look appeared in his eyes. By the way, I'll leave earlier today. Is everything okay? Naruto asked, not looking at Sasuke, but simply tightening the bandages on his arms. There was a moment of silence before Sasuke said in a low tone, his eyes filled with various emotions as Naruto took a good look at him. Sadness, bitterness and hatred. Tomorrow is the day. The anniversary. Naruto stopped his movements in an instant, a memory returning to his head as he looked at the ground with narrowed eyes. Right. The massacre. He said lowly, turning his attention towards Sasuke, shooting him a look of pity. A look that Sasuke didn't pay attention to, as he was still lost his thoughts. Due to his own pride, but perhaps even general personality, Sasuke requested that the day of the massacre not be an official day of mourning in the village. Naruto understood his reason, and even supported them. Given the fact it is tomorrow, no wonder he was all so gloomy this morning. The Uchiha nodded as he stood up. I won't be coming to train tomorrow. If you see Kakashi before I do, tell him he should first inform us he won't be there, so we don't waste our time. Naruto's face morphed into a minor scowl from a look of pity right away. I will. Sasuke was hard to get along with, and one always needed to be careful about what he should say around him. Still, he should not discard Uncle Kosuke's help when he offered him. Seeing his surrogate uncle not bothered by his words, Naruto let the matter go. He still recalled a memory when one of their academy's classmates said something inappropriate regarding the Uchihas in front of Sasuke. Ironically, there were no girls back then, as they had a class of their own. And the image of a silent boy needing their love was preserved, as Noon spoke about it ever again. But the memory of the angry Sasuke needing to be restrained from nearly killing their classmate was probably imprinted into every boy's mind back then. Not that Sasuke could beat him, but provocating on that ground was unnecessary and shameful. As Sasuke left the training ground, Naruto turned to Kosuke. Sorry about that. Sasuke can rather be very unsociable sometimes. Kosuke waved it off. Don't worry Naruto-kun, I understand his feelings very well. Still, he should be more considerate to others. And respectful. Everyone has their own day when they are something they are not, Sasuke has his own in turn. Kosuke said, continuing. But now I'd like to see how your kenjutsu training has been going. As soon as he said that, Naruto unleashed the Nidame's sword of the Thunder God, deflecting Kosuke's attack. Careful not to get too dependent on that sword. Any blade can be broken if you know how to do it. Kosuke said, smiling, slipping his sword down and going for another slash, one that Naruto deflected again. Oh, don't worry about that. The only reason I'm using it is because my ninjato was left home. Naruto said, smirking. But don't worry, I won't be using any of its abilities, so just imagine it's a regular sword, like yours. I doubt that's possible. Whenever I see you with it, it's like I'm looking at the past. Kosuke said with a nostalgic smile. Naruto returned the smile, but said nothing in turn. He was proud of the fact that he was compared to his ancestor. The only thing he wanted was to one day reach the level of experience and the abilities Tobirama had. They continued with a sword-to-sword fight for a time. Despite not having a suitable partner to spar for the past few months, Naruto did keep up with his training. His clones were helpful as always. They went up to spar for another half-hour or so, when a hawk was noticed circling in the sky above them. It seems I'm summoned for by Hiruzen, Naruto-kun. We will continue our training tomorrow. Kosuke said. Sure thing, I'll train a bit more before going home. Just make sure you don't overdo it. Kosuke said with a smile and then left. Training on one of the training grounds was lacking on this occasion. Deciding to train with his affinities a bit more, Naruto went towards the secluded river pathway with a canyon to the northeast of his position. The canyon of the Naka River in Konoha was a rather secluded place, located in the eastern side of the village. The northeastern side to be more precise. As soon as he got there, he took a look at the river torrent below him. This won't do, he thought as he looked down. The river's passage was too small for it to be of any use. Originally, he considered using the wind element to create something from the water, but the more he looked below, the solution for another problem of his arose within his mind. The river flew fast towards its destination. And a single point in the torrent could not be traced with a clear eye of the civilians, unlike the way Shinobi could. As soon as the person would lay an eye on one point, in a matter of microseconds, it would disappear to whatever way it went. The start and the destination. Ha! Naruto exclaimed with a smile as the idea came to his mind. For too long he contemplated the real idea behind the flying thunder god, but all it took was observing the flow of nature. Still, he decided to train with his affinities a bit more. The flying thunder god would come later. He jumped down on a rock in the middle of the river. He spent the next few hours practicing various techniques, having a short pause after each one. The river was fast, but he did eventually manage to take the surrounding water with his wind chakra into a minor vortex. However, he did not feel any different, and the vortex itself wasn't particularly strong, in addition to being a waste of time trying to make one on a river. In the end, Naruto decided to move from those notions and continue practicing his focusing on the surrounding water that flew down. Naruto went through the few hand signs, exclaiming the technique once everything was in its place. Water release, water colliding wave. The massive vortex of water broke through the river's flow, rising up and being sent towards the opposite direction to where it came from. For a mere moment before the river's torrent returned to its place, Naruto caught a glimpse of a sealing paper that was placed on the rock below him. Naruto mused inwardly, moving his hand into the water that filled the previously empty space to pluck the seal from the rock. Soul-body separation technique. Naruto said as he looked at the paper in his hand, immediately recognizing it. But as he looked at the paper, he saw that it was damaged beyond any use or repair. The lower part of it was shredded for a bit, but the upper half remained visible. Kisuke. Someone sealed this Kisuke's soul away. Naruto did not know the man, but he realized the implication of this right away. The man was as good as dead, for his soul would remain trapped in this piece of damaged paper. Damn it! He muttered, before placing his index finger on top of the rock as he knelt, proceeding to extend his senses on the surrounding areas. Nothing. He did not sense anyone in the nearby radius. Not a single trace of any faint chakra, except for the various other chakra signatures, which didn't add much to his clues. Kisuke's body was already dead, most likely. Or it's sunken somewhere within the village and someone found him. Hopefully. Naruto decided to go to the village and consider his option along the way. He opted for not involving Sasuke or Uncle Kosuke into this. There was no need to do it. As he reached one tower of the village, he considered his options on what to do. His first option was to go to the old man and report this. But knowing he was probably at the meeting with the daimyo, it wouldn't be of any use. The archives would be pointless, as he did not know how the man looked like in the first place. Naruto looked around the village. It was nearing the evening, many people were walking through the streets. But among them, he saw a familiar head. One that he hadn't spoken to in a long time. She could help. Sakura walked towards the hospital through the bustling streets of the village. She forgot one of the books at her training room when she went home for the day. Shaking her head at such lack of diligence at the same time, along the way. Her training was going well. The seniors at the hospital were very polite and helpful. And she was hoping to become just like them. She saw the look of content and happiness whenever they would help a patient, but also a look of gratefulness from the patients as well. The week has already passed since she began her initial training. And 2 weeks since the wave mission. The unpleasant memories of that incident did not fade, but it did strengthen her resolve. For the first few days after her former team returned to the village, Sakura did not dare to leave her room, opting to stay in her bed and let her tears dry. Her mother got restless with her behavior and demanded an explanation, one that she eventually got, but a pretty lacking report. As Sakura had to omit many of the things that happened during the mission. However, explaining everything to her mother helped her in making a decision on where should her life go on. Her mother was supportive. Ecstatic, better said, on the notion that her daughter could become a medic nin. Apparently, it was a more noble calling for someone like her. As she walked towards her destination, her thoughts drifted to her former team. She hadn't seen either Naruto or Sasuke since she left the Hokage's tower. She met Kakashi Sensei when he accompanied her to the hospital, intending to introduce her to the staff there. Or he just wanted an excuse to talk with the nurses there. She quickly shook her head, dispelling those thoughts. Ino has pestered her for a whole afternoon the day after she started her training at the hospital, asking her various questions on why did she decided to quit the regular shinobi duties in the first place. Sakura did not say everything to her. A blabbermouth that she was, Ino would most likely spread the gossip around the village. And that Snake Ami would most likely gloat in satisfaction at Sakura's fall from grace, as Ino eloquently called it. Fall from Sasuke's grace. Sakura did not consider it as one, as she was never in his grace in the first place. A failed mission to the wave certainly helped shape a new worldview for her. And that included a previous reassessment of the last Uchiha. She wasn't sure if she was ever truly in love with him. Whatever her previous feelings were, she was not sure if she held them any longer. As she thought about it again, Sakura came to realize how shallow she acted around him sometimes. No wonder he couldn't stand the sight of me. And lastly, her thoughts drifted to her last teammate, one that gave reasons for her fears of shinobi life, and for her tears the days following the return to the village. She did not hate Naruto, but after witnessing the power and hatred of his tenant in the wave, she was not sure if she would ever forget the feeling from back then. The sheer amount of chakra he emanated was nothing but exceptional. But it was not something which presence she wanted to feel ever again. Sakura. Sakura heard the voice speaking behind her. She promptly turned around to see her former teammate, Naruto, standing behind her. She already walked into the street which led towards the hospital. And as it wasn't in the center of the village, there weren't many heads walking around to notice them. Naruto? She spoke in a whisper, her eyes widened. She quickly reminded herself that the fox and Naruto were two different things. No beings. Naruto is a human being, just like she is. I can't say we haven't seen each other in a long time, but it's good to see you again, he said with a thin smile on his face. I'm in a bit of a hurry, Naruto, we can speak some other time, if that's okay with you. Sakura hastily said, shakenly, turning around and proceeding to walk faster. Or so she wanted. Naruto quickly grabbed her arm, stopping her in her tracks. It's not okay, actually. I need your help right now, Naruto said to her with a serious expression, quickly replacing the smiling one from a moment ago. Sakura tensed for a moment, but reluctantly nodded in agreement. What do you need help with? And so Naruto began explaining to her why he needed her. The Konoha's hospital, this way, Sakura said as she led him through the halls of the hospital, not turning her face to him for a second. He stopped her again, just like back on the streets. Sakura, he began. I can understand your fear, Naruto said. Somewhat, he added when he saw she would not turn around. She still did not turn around. And I don't blame you for it. It's not like I have a reason to. But I assure you I have a fox under control. You wish. The Kyuubi snarled within his mind, but Naruto ignored it. And I won't repeat the same thing like what happened in the wave. I promise. I understand. Sakura slowly nodded, turning back to him, but the fear and tense look in her eyes did not disappear. Naruto was thankful that she was willing to give him a chance. By the way, why did you come up to me? Wouldn't it be better if you went to Kakashi-sensei, or even the Hokage-sama in the first place? She asked as they continued their walk towards the room. The old man is currently with the feudal lord, I think. Kakashi-sensei is the same for that matter. Naruto said to her as they continued their walk. You're the first person I know that I met on the streets, and I had a feeling I shouldn't waste any time. Sakura said nothing as they walked further down the hallway. And they soon arrived at their destination. A moment before that, Sakura told him how they found Kisuke in the first place. A shinobi patrol in the village found him being stuck by some branches in the river, so they brought him here. Sakura said, her previously fearful face turning to the one of confusion. But from what some nurses said, nothing could wake him up. The most confusing part is, not even a Yamanaka nurse could enter his mind and read his memories of what happened. It was like, there were none. Sakura looked at him as she finished her thoughts. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he added his own theory. It's not like they could. The sealing paper that sealed his soul took away his memories as well, along with his spiritual body. You said you have the paper? Maybe we could wake him up with it. Sakura said with a hopeful expression, but Naruto interjected her. The seal was heavily damaged. On purpose. Whoever did it must have had a reason to not want this man to return to our world. He paused for a moment. He probably wasn't sure what would have happened if he destroyed the formula, so he opted on just damaging it. 2 negatives equals a positive after all. So if the suspect who used the formula in the first place simply destroyed it, he would have undone his initial work? Sakura asked him. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Possibly. Maybe. I don't know. He admitted with an annoyed look. I only know of this technique in the first place, but I don't know the side notes of what-ifs. So there is something that even you don't know of? Sakura said, a small smile morphing on her face. You know. I always thought you had an answer for everything. Well. Though luck this time. Naruto said, annoyed, getting a short laugh from Sakura. We're here. Something is not right. Naruto thought as his senses reeled up as soon as they reached the doors to Kisuke's room in the hospital. There was another person in there. He placed his hand on Sakura's shoulder, an action which startled her for a moment. Naruto? Sakura said as she turned her head around. Wait. Naruto simply said. The figure behind the doors opened it, revealing the young man with light blue hair and eyes. And a Jonin's vest on himself, revealing his high rank in Konoha's hierarchy. Despite the academy teaching the future generations the chain of command and the respect necessary when addressing one's seniors, Naruto couldn't help himself to trust the man in front of him. His senses warned him not to trust him. And he wouldn't in any case. The man's chakra reeked of malicious intent. A look of disdain on his face said enough of him if one couldn't sense his chakra. And Naruto knew that look all too well. A look of hate from a person who lost someone from the Kyuubi's attack on the village 13 years ago. That would have angered Naruto early on in his life, but he learned not to be bothered by those looks anymore. The disdainful look was the least of his concerns. Sakura began, but Naruto shushed her quickly, grabbing the hold of her shoulder with his left hand and moving her behind him. Sometimes it puzzled Naruto how innocent she could sound. Kisuke was dead. The ECG beeped a continuous line behind the unknown man, indicating that the heart of Kisuke did not beat anymore. What did you do to him? Naruto asked the man, looking straight up into his eyes. The sword of the Thunder God was at his belt, a mere inches from his right hand, being ready to be used. But as he considered his options if it came to the fight, Naruto discarded that route. Making sure that Sakura stays alive was his current priority. "I don't know what you're talking about," the blue-haired man said with a fake smile. "I merely visited my old friend. Once I heard he got into the hospital to see if he's well. Tough, by the looks of it, he doesn't seem too well." "Wait, that sound," Sakura said behind him, finally noticing it. Naruto turned to look at her, telling her to stay silent. But as he did that, the man in front of them revealed the kunai from his sleeve, taking the hold of it, and moving to stab it into Naruto's head. Unfortunately for him, Naruto was quick to notice his moves right away, and was ready to counter his attack. He moved his head slightly to the right, grabbing the blue-haired man's hand with both of his own. As soon as Naruto saw the attack was coming, he needed the chakra in his body, transformed it into the water, and shaped it into Senbon as he grabbed the enemy's hand. Heavenly weeping, Naruto thought inwardly as he shoot the Senbon needles towards his attacker from his mouth. The traitor unfortunately quickly noticed it and simply lowered his head, deflecting the Senbons with his forehead protector. The sounds of Senbons clashing with the steel filled the air, after which they fell to the ground. Naruto let go of the Rogenin's arm, jumping back and picking Sakura up, proceeding to jump the right side of the hallway again. The whole affair happened in mere seconds, leaving Sakura perplexed. Why did he attack us? Naruto? She asked, both confused and afraid. Naruto did not manage to answer her as 4 kunais were sent flying to their direction. Quickly moving through the hand signs, Naruto exclaimed, "Wind release, gale palm." The kunais, which were lighted with the explosive tags, returned to the attacker, exploding a moment before they reached him back. The walls and roof around the enemy crumbled, and the light in the entire hallway disappeared. The air was filled with smoke from the explosive, as well as from the dust of the levered walls and the roof. "Kachem, Kachem, Kachem." Sakura coughed as Naruto held her in his arms. "Are you okay, Sakura?" I think so." "Naruto. Why did he attack us?" she asked once she took a hold of herself. "Because he's a traitor. That's why." He bluntly answered her. He sensed the man rising from the smoke at that moment. "And he's about to do it again," Naruto quickly said, making 2 shadow clones in an instant. The 2 shadow clones grabbed Sakura and went back to the center of the hospital without uttering a word. "Hee hee." Sakura squealed as they took her. But they disappeared from his sight soon after. Naruto in the meantime unleashed his ancestor's sword and slashed at his attacker. It was not to be. However, as the enemy quickly used the replacement with the nearby fire extinguisher, Naruto in the end cut through the fire extinguisher with the sword of the Thunder God, releasing the sodium bicarbonate in the air. In a matter of seconds, Naruto turned off the Nidame's sword, grabbing it with his teeth, and then going through the few hand signs. Swift wind wall. A wall of wind surrounded him, pushing back both the previous smoke from the explosion, and now the substance from the fire extinguisher. As the wall of wind protected him for 10 seconds or so, Naruto sensed his attacker fleeing the scene, probably towards the mountains behind the Hokage's rock. It was the easiest way to escape the village, even if one would need to bypass any patrols there, and in the surrounding countryside. Dispersing the wall of wind around him, Naruto received the memories of one of the 2 clones who escorted Sakura, at the same time. She was safe, and the other clone was explaining the situation to the medics at the main hall. A large commotion arose with the explosion and more people would come here soon. But at least there wouldn't be more victims. Naruto jumped through the open roof and went to chase after the enemy. The sun was already setting, and if he wasn't fast, the traitor would flee the village unpunished. He made another clone, and jumped towards the direction when he went, intending to capture him alive. Vengeance. That was all that Saburo thought about. Vengeance for his dead parents and siblings that went unpunished. The Kyuubi incarnate walked free, while his parents lay dead. On top of all of that, the kind old Hokage himself always loved parading that demon brat around the village, showcasing him as a victim, and not those who suffered from the attack of that stupid fox. It all boiled down as time went on. The brat graduated from the academy with the highest score, rivaled only by the Yondaime Hokage and Uchiha Itachi. It made Saburo angry. Angry with a cry of vengeance, and angry with jealousy. He was an orphan as well. Everyone he loved died from the attack 13 years ago. But no one paid any attention to his accomplishments. Everyone praised the demon brat, and how he will bring glory to Konoha one day. And maybe even become a Hokage in his own right. It made Saburo angry how some of his so-called friends could so easily forget what the demon actually was. Forget about everything. In the end, it made Saburo forget about the loyalty to Konoha, wishing upon its destruction for their idiocy. He was always courteous to give a polite smile whenever the talk about the Kyuubi brat was in place, lest to make someone suspicious of him. But it was all in vain. For one of Orochimaru's lackeys noticed him, and offered him a deal. A deal he couldn't, and shouldn't refuse. Kabuto did not know of his real goals. Only that he is an ambitious young man who thinks that the ideology of peaceful coexistence that Konoha preached was worthless and stupid. Or perhaps he knew, but did not care, as long as he did his task. Perhaps it was because Kabuto did not fully trust him. He never mentioned the purpose of changing the parameters of Konoha's northern border patrols, or location of Orochimaru. But it wasn't too hard to figure it all out. I might need to call for aid from Kabuto if it gets too hard. Prodigy or not. Naruto was very strong for him to handle all alone. Maybe if he killed him and released the Kyuubi, he could destroy Konoha without any interference from Orochimaru? The possibilities were endless. He stopped running once he arrived to the nearby forest behind the village. This should be enough. He noticed Naruto coming out of the hospital's roof from the distance few moments ago, and would most likely follow him until he captured. Don't get too cocky. The mission is compromised, he said to himself once he placed the final sealing tag at its place. Once he got rid of the Kyuubi brat, the pink-haired bitch would be next. Would have to be next. If she did not already blabbered him to the others. And the moment after, Naruto appeared not far from his position. Took you long enough. It seems that the others were wrong about your prowess, Saburo said, smirking, looking straight at Naruto, who stood on one branch of a tree not far from him. But too far from a trap he made. I just need him to come a little closer. Naruto on the other hand had a mask of indifference on his face. Like he did not consider him worthy of anything else. Why did you kill Kasuke? Naruto asked out of blue. Because I could. That's why. Saburo answered, with a smirk still on his face. The answer did not get any sort of reaction from Naruto, so Saburo decided to poke him more. Did you knew him, by any chance? But no answer came, and that annoyed Saburo, who scowled. You always carry yourself as if the others don't matter at all. Don't you? The others did not matter. And Saburo did not care for that. He stopped caring long time ago. I guess that could be expected from a harbor of the Kyuubi? Am I right? And that got the attention from the brat. Naruto jumped forward to land near his position, but the midway through, Saburo jumped back, going through the few hand signs. Sealed binding formation. The sealing tags on the trees lighted and activated, stopping Naruto in his movements the moment he jumped to the ground where he previously stood. Saburo landed on the closest tree. I admit I expected more from the newest Konoha's prodigy, Saburo said as he looked down at Naruto, who was snarling in anger as he couldn't move. But I guess it doesn't matter in the end, doesn't it? As soon as I finish you, your pink-haired friend will be next. He jumped down from the tree and started walking slowly towards Naruto, who still couldn't move due to the restraints from his ceiling tags. Well then. The time for vengeance has come, I suppose. Saburo said plainly as he walked closer. He drew another kunai from his pouch and went to slice Naruto's head off, but the moment before he approached, a smirk morphed on Naruto's face. It has. That caught Saburo by surprise, but he widened his eyes as he sensed the chakra rilling up in Naruto, nearly enveloping him in an explosion. One that he managed to evade in the last second, but not without suffering slight wounds on his body. A wind slash. He moved both of his hands on whatever wound he could, just to stop the bleeding. But not for me, sighed Naruto, who appeared unscathed on the ground not far from him. I see. Saburo said, growling as he rose up. You used a wind element in conjunction with the great clone explosion to trick me. Bingo. Naruto was smiling mockingly at him. Wretched bastard. Saburo thought as he stood at his battle position. Killing those academy students a few years ago must have given you some ideas? A few moments ago, when he compared him with the Kyuubi, at least he got an angry and impulsive reaction. Now, however, all he got was a cheeky smirk and a satisfied remark. Plenty of them. That confidence annoyed him to no end. You're wrong if you think I'll lose so easily. I wasn't made a jonin for nothing. He said in a brave tone, but the belief in his own bravery was slowly fading, just like the blood from his wounds. Oh. I wasn't hoping either. Naruto said as he stood in his one pose. Still with a smile on his face. One that Saburo did not know of. I don't know what beef you had with Kisuke. But whatever it was, you'll answer for killing him. Then bring it on, demon brat. Saburo said, but he did not wait for Naruto to attack, for he did it himself first. It wasn't too hard to follow the traitor of Konoha. Naruto's sensory ability could sense far and wide. And once he noticed that his target stopped moving in the forest, Naruto could easily deduce he was making a trap. For that reason, he made another shadow clone to gouge out his opponent's abilities first. As soon as the clone arrived at the forest, he easily noticed the hidden ceiling tags on few trees. With nothing to lose, he engaged him in combat, dispelling with the clone explosion technique, combined with the wind element. Similar to when he used it on the playground at the age of 6, that even his victim noticed, trying to poke a reaction of displeasure, or even impulsiveness that would give him leverage in the following fight. But he would be damned if he allowed it. Then bring it on, demon brat. The enemy said, ending their short conversation, leaping forward to attack him, ignoring his own words. The skirmish was a bit different than the one at the hospital. Naruto could see that the man was badly injured, having a few visible wounds on his body. As the fight continued, the enemy was getting tired more and more. At one point he jumped backward, going through the few hand signs along the way. Fire release, great fireball technique. He exclaimed, sending a moderate-sized ball of fire towards Naruto. Naruto in turn did not waste any time. Going through his own hand signs, he molded the chakra in his body, spitting the stream of water from his mouth in the end. Water release, water formation wall. That put to stop the fire attack, but just as he stopped the elemental attack, Naruto sensed the thinnest bits of foreign chakra trying to invade his body. Flaring his own chakra in turn, Naruto stopped the genjutsu from taking over him, even if he doubted that any sort of lower-level illusion would have a use against him. And at that moment, his opponent emerged from the smoke that evaporated the air in front of him, with a kunai in his hand, intending to stab Naruto straight into his eyes. Yet, as the wound still held firm on his body, it was easy for Naruto to evade the attack by simply moving his head leftwards. The moment he did that, he grabbed the attacker's hand and sent a kick with his knee to his abdomen. The blue-haired traitor whimpered in pain as he struggled to get the air to his body. The strike was so strong that he did not bother holding his stomach with his arms as the natural senses left his body along with the air. Ag. He continued breathing erratically, falling on his knees, his eyes widened as the realization of what happened came up to him. I will. He repeated, moving his right hand to grab a kunai that was laying on the ground beside him. Naruto kicked kunai away, flying before looking down at his beaten opponent. Don't even think about it. Accept your punishment like a man. The old man coming. Naruto could sense it, along with a squadron of his shinobi. The ANBUs and Kakashi Sensei. The clone that warned the old man of what happened has dispelled the moment the clone that engaged the traitor was dispelled. The information from him returned to Naruto, and he did not fight the smile from appearing on his face from the memory of the bedazzled daimyo and his court. Saburo. The old man said as he appeared with his men behind Naruto. Naruto turned around and could see that his face was stern and angry. And the air around them got heavy. Naruto never felt this presence of the Sandaime before. Not even during their spar a few months back. But now he understood why he got his reputation. Sasandaime? The man, apparently named Saburo, whispered in fear. What is the meaning of this? Explain. Short and simple. But Saburo could not say anything, he was too afraid to speak. His eyes were constantly wavering in fear. He knew the end was near. Peaceful and sometimes tolerant Konoha could be, but it did not mean they wouldn't execute the traitor when one appeared or the opportunity arrived. Or that they could gift them as a plaything to the torture and interrogation division. The demon brat attacked me in the hospital Hokage-sama. He pursued me all the way here. Saburo said at the fast rate, as Naruto snorted at his foolish words. His lies were interrupted by the Hokage. You really expect me to believe that? Come on. Shikaku would not place you into his division if you would use such a lame excuse. The old man almost sounded bored. Now. Why did you murder Maboroshi Kisuke, after attempting to kill him once before? Apparently, Saburo did not deign to answer that, as his breathing stabilized. He gulped once, as he looked at Sarutobi in the eyes. Naruto could see his eyes moving wildly in one place, whilst looking at the old man. It was like he lost a touch with reality. You know. I think that is a really good question, Sandaime-sama. Saburo spoke with a sly smile on his face. He moved the fingers of his right hand to his right arm, whipping a trace of blood that was there. Naruto kept silent once the old man came, stepping aside, and letting his ANBU surround the traitor. The old man sighed. You can act like a fool as much as you want, though, I doubt Ibiki will be kind to you if you continue doing it. Take him away. Yes, sir. The two ANBUs grabbed him and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Followed by another two ANBU to be there just in case. Only Naruto, Kakashi, the Hokage, and another two ANBUs remained there in the clearing. The old man was still having a stern look on his face, and Naruto had a hard time deducing what he was actually thinking. After a moment, he took a good look at the surroundings where the battle between Naruto and Saburo was fought, and he cracked a small smile in his direction. Good job, Naruto-kun. Naruto smiled at the praise, as Kakashi Sensei also placed a hand on his shoulders, gifting him one of his eye smiles. Well done. Thanks. Naruto said, contently. By the way, I'm sorry I had to break your banquet with the daimyo and his court. Though it did not look like either of you enjoyed it that much. I think only Hayashi and the other Hyugas did. Sarutobi said with a smile. Sorry I had to summon Kosuke away from your training today. The daimyo wanted to meet with him as well. He's an avid fan of the older generations. Sounds like a tedious business. You really have to entertain the feudal lord's court, don't you? Naruto asked as he took down his headband, wiping out the sweat that concentrated on his head. A long shower was something he avidly missed now. As well as a long and peaceful sleep. A small token of our gratitude to them. The capital did not need to support us financially, or with food during the past wars, but they did anyway. No reason to break that bond now. As you don't know when the next war will emerge. You should never forget that, Naruto-kun. Naruto nodded. Now. Sarutobi began again as he came close to him. Expecting a pat on his head, he was caught by surprise as Sarutobi pulled his left ear, holding it as he spoke. I hope in the future, this reminds you to come to me first if you ever discover a spy. We were lucky this time, but if the other villages ever infiltrate one of their own, they will do it with someone much stronger than Saburo. I understand. Naruto said quietly. But good job, nonetheless. Sarutobi said as he let go of his ear, giving a small smile in return. He simply smiled again at the praise. I should be going home now. Sensei, I think someone should check on Sakura to see if she's okay. She wasn't hurt or anything, but it's better if someone explains everything to her. I'll be sure to do it. Kakashi said, who watched the entire affair in silence. By the way, how did Sasuke reacted to our new teammate? I forgot to tell him yesterday. Naruto looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Or this morning. I think he was content. Though, he was wroth with you for not tell him beforehand. Kakashi sighed. I'll make amends some other time. Naruto waved it off. I'll see you some other time, sensei. Old man. He gave both of them a short nod before disappearing in a swirl of leaves. The Senju clan compound, 11:50 p.m. A ceiling tag warned him that someone channeled chakra to the outer walls of the main residence, and Naruto walked towards them to see who it was. He decided against simply sensing who it was, more so because he was genuinely curious at seeing a rare visitor to his home. And in a rare childish moment of his, he wanted to be surprised. In any case, whoever it was he knew who lived here rubbing a towel over his head, drying his hair after a shower, Naruto walked slowly, thinking about everything that happened as soon as he arrived back at the village. A day since he arrived, and the following, he discovered a traitor to Konoha. It made him think about the reason why Saburo would try and betray the village. Well then. The time for vengeance has come, I suppose. Those were the Saburo's words during the fight. Naruto shook his head and sighed as he walked further towards the residence's gate. The guy must have lost someone during the attack, and seeing Naruto walk through the village without anyone's care in his mind must have made him resentful towards his own home. I should talk with the old man regarding that. Many people had lost their loved ones back then, but outright vengeful attack has never happened. Granted, Saburo never attacked him on the streets directly, but the basis of that hatred gave birth to something more sinister. Something that in the end ruined the man's life. Naruto wondered if there were others whose lives were destroyed because they allowed their hatred of him to overwhelm their common sense. Soon after he reached the gate. Opening it, he saw Sakura standing there, looking around at the building's night-covered buildings. Sakura? Naruto asked, getting her to turn around and greet him with a smile. What are you doing here this late? I wanted to say thanks. For saving me today. Naruto waved it off. I got you into that trouble in the first place. No need to thank me. He answered with a shy smile. Sakura shook her head. It doesn't matter. You still saved me, so thank you. The silence stretched, and the only sound that could be heard were those of the owls, but the sounds of the people in the distance could also be heard. Would you like to enter, perhaps? I can make us some tea if you'd like. Sure. She said, still smiling. As they walked towards the building. We'll have to sit outside. The house is protected with seals preventing those not of my clan from entering inside. I see. She said, seemingly understanding what she meant. How did you know I live here, anyway? He never mentioned that to her. For all she knew, he could live anywhere else in the village. Kakashi-sensei checked on me about an hour ago. He also told me where you lived once I asked him. So I assume this little visit has a bigger meaning? Naruto asked as they reached the stairs towards the Engawa. Well, I wanted to say my thanks first, but also to apologize. Sakura said, her eyes looking down, as if in shame. Naruto looked at her thoughtfully before speaking the following, "Wait there, I'll be back in 5 minutes." When he returned with the tea, he saw Sakura sitting down near the edge of Engawa, looking towards the stars. "Here," Naruto said as he offered her own cup of tea. "Thanks." "So," Naruto began. "I'm not sure about what you're apologizing. I don't think you've ever wronged me in any way." He knew the reason why she came, it was clear as day, but for the sake of lifting the awkward mood, he went along it, by pretending to be clueless. Sakura looked at him with narrowed eyes, feeling insulted at his words. Naruto allowed a small smile to grace his face seeing her reaction. "I'm not stupid, Naruto. And neither are you for that matter." She took one gulp from the cup before continuing. "I'm sorry with the way I reacted when I found out about the Kyuubi and you know, with the way I was afraid around you today when you came to me." Naruto remained silent, allowing Sakura to continue, but she did not. She just continued looking distantly, not knowing what to say else. Again, Naruto decided to break the silence. "Sakura, listen. I'm not angry with you or anything. To be honest, I expected that reaction from you, and with the way you learned of it, I thought you would cut all ties with me no matter what. It's not like I didn't try," she said with a bitter smile. "In any case, I was hated by many villagers, some outright showed their disdain, even before, well, you know what I'm talking about." She nodded, seemingly getting what he was saying. "So if the others reacted with the way you do, I'd be much happier," Naruto confessed. "You want for people to be afraid of you?" she asked, disbelievingly. "It's better than having them giving you those ugly looks," Naruto said sarcastically. She got the wrong message. There are benefits of having others afraid of you. But as I said, better that, than being the receiving one at the end of the stick. She nodded in understanding. "I wonder how they react once they found out you're the Yondame's son. Do you think you'll have some fangirls of your own?" "Who knows?" Naruto said as he leaned to the wall, shrugging his shoulders. "I may already have them in Kumo and Iwa. Huh? Sakura asked, confused. And Naruto proceeded to explain to her how he already got to the bingo book. "So early," she said in a quiet tone. "Lucky me." He smiled. "Are you afraid perhaps?" "To be honest with you, no. I'm not afraid. Though, there is a certain sense of thrill at knowing other villages are having their eyes on you." He suspected that his alliance with the Kyuubi might have a subtle influence on the making of his inner peace. But Sakura did not need to know that. Sakura decided to change the subject. "Weren't you ever bother of living here by yourself?" she asked as she looked at the compound in front of them that was basically empty. "Sometimes," Naruto muttered. "But I wasn't always alone, as I had few people who took care of me. I will, however, need to restock this place one day. Just like Sasuke will need his own." Sakura's cheeks turned into a shade of red for a brief moment at hearing his comment. Speaking of Sasuke, Naruto noticed that she dropped the usual honorific she had for the last loyal Uchiha. "How did he react to everything about you?" Naruto shrugged. "You know him. Mostly aloof, and not caring about it. though he was a bit curious at one point. Why? She looked away from him then. No particular reason. Naruto raised his eyebrow at her response. You don't like him anymore, do you? She sat there silently, not answering, so Naruto decided to poke her a bit. Sakura, I'm afraid I don't see you that way either. That got an angry response from her. One that he did not see since the days from the academy and her bickering with Ino. And I don't see you that way either, you idiot. Naruto simply laughed at her response, causing her to calm down a bit. I don't think I do. I'm not sure I ever did in reality. It was just a simple crush, you know. She said, blushing, embarrassed about her previous behavior. Well, I think it's better that way. Sasuke might be my teammate, but I doubt you'd find any romantic happiness with him in a relationship. What do you know about romance, Naruto? From what I know, you have never shown any interest to any girls in our class. Neither did Sasuke for that matter. Naruto thought. It's not like any of you fit my criteria for a Senju matriarch. And what is this criteria you speak of? Sakura asked, a bit annoyed and insulted. Once again, Naruto shrugged his arms. I have no idea. It seems that his ominous answer annoyed her even more, but she decided to let it go before another outburst. I should go, my parents will worry, especially if they hear about the explosion at the hospital. Naruto stood up as well, following Sakura's action. Don't worry. I know how to leave. She said. He hummed in response. Thank you once again for saving me, Naruto. See you some other time. She said before jumping off in the distance. Naruto watched her leave before sitting and leaning onto the walls once again. He thought about many things. About the battle with Saburo, and how indirectly he might have had a hand in his moral demise in addition to a physical one. About how Sakura came to accept him for who he was. Something he did not think would happen anytime soon. But as the old saying went on, good things come to those who are good. And lastly, as many times before, he thought about his future. With an unofficial bounty on his head, he could never know what the tomorrow morning would bring. As he sat outside, looking at the stars above him, Naruto looked at the walls of his house. The safety of the seals around his home looked more beautiful than ever, even if they were not visible at the moment. He knew they were there. His guardians. My bed must be crying for my body right now. Naruto stood up and picked up the 2 cups, moving into the house, and going to sleep. He would have to get up early anyway. And sleep was paramount at the moment. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Fox Sage, and I'm signing off.